go ahead and get started.
Bueller.
So I don't want to bang the gavel. Hey,
Council President.
okay. Thank you. That's the first time I've ever had to use the gavel. So good afternoon, everyone. The August 11th meeting of the Seattle City Council will come to order. It is 2:06 p.m. I'm Joy Hollingsworth, your council president. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Foster, Councilmember Juarez, Councilmember Kettle,
Here.
Councilmember Lynn,
Here.
Councilmember Rink,
Here.
Councilmember Rivera,
Present.
Councilmember Saka, Councilmember Strauss, Council President Hollingsworth.
Here.
7 present.
Awesome. Councilmember Juarez. You said 7 present? Okay, Councilmember Juarez and Councilmember Foster are excused until they get here. I know they stepped out. Today, the council will present 3 proclamations. Well, we'll present 2 proclamations. The first one is presented on Susan Hahn Appreciation Day by Councilmember Rink, and the second proclamation will be presented by Councilmember Saka, recognizing West Seattle Little League Day. So we will start with Councilmember Rink.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, I am so excited to be presenting this proclamation today to honor the work of Susan Hahn of the Seattle Channel, the award-winning Seattle Channel. Now, Mayor Wilson, along with 8 city council members, have added their signatures and proclaimed today, August 11th, 2026, as Susan Hahn Appreciation Day. Now, I know I've met Susan in community from Labor at Linda's events to also a group bike ride in Chop House Row. But many know Susan out in community, and through her work through Seattle Channel, she has facilitated and empowered communities and people from across the city to tell their stories. So I felt compelled to bring this proclamation to fruition after I heard of Susan's retirement from our own Brian Callanan. And I want to give a big thanks to Brian for working with my office in drafting this proclamation and bringing us all here today. So without further ado, I'd like to read the proclamation, and then we'll have a couple of speakers to speak on Susan Hahn Appreciation Day, and we will take a group photo. So, whereas Susan Hahn, a senior producer at the Seattle Channel since 2007, has retired after an inspiring award-winning career, and whereas she was born in London and raised in Singapore and followed her natural lifelong curiosity to ask meaningful questions by pursuing work overseas in the field of journalism. Whereas she moved to the United States in 1987 to attend the University of Washington, where she earned a communications degree in 1990. And whereas she began a career in broadcast journalism spanning nearly 40 years, including nearly 2 decades at Seattle Channel. 15 years as a senior producer at KCTS 9 and as a researcher at King TV's Evening Magazine. And whereas her work at Seattle Channel has included coverage of the Pike Place Market Centennial in 2007, as well as programs such as Art Zone, City Stream, Community Stories, and Seattle Speaks. And whereas her ability to speak 4 languages, English, French, Mandarin, and Cantonese, and her international perspective allowed her to lead production on a program about Seattle's sister cities of Knott's. And whereas the bulk of her work at Seattle Channel has been dedicated to producing more than 250 episodes of City Inside Out, a public affairs show known for the tough but fair approach she developed alongside hosts C.R. Douglas and Brian Callanan. And whereas she researched topics, wrote and edited scripts, booked guests, and became known for persuading people with opposing viewpoints to sit down together for civil conversations about Seattle's biggest and most controversial issues, from gun control to homelessness, as well as spirited debates between opposing political candidates. And whereas she has won 8 regional Emmy Awards and contributed to Seattle Channel's Station Excellence Award in 2025, which recognizes outstanding overall operations, local programming, and community involvement of a television station as compared to all television stations in the region of Washington, Idaho, Oregon, and Montana. And whereas she became a U.S. citizen in 2019 and has had a major influence far beyond television with her involvement in the Asian American Journalists Association starting in 1991, where she served as co-president and has advocated for more Asian American journalists and journalists of color in newsrooms. And whereas her inspiring career and unmatched contributions have helped shape the Seattle Channel into what it is today, an award-winning municipal government access television station and digital media platform that inspires, informs, and connects the Seattle community. Now, therefore, the mayor and Seattle City Council proclaim August 11th, 2026 to be Susan Hahn Appreciation Day.
Yay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Rink. Are there any other council members that would like to give comment before we suspend the rules? So we're going to go ahead and suspend the rules so the proclamation could be presented. And then we also have 3 guests. We have Brian Callahan, who's going to speak, Shannon G., and then Susan herself. Oh, there is someone who wanted, oh, sorry, Councilmember Rivera, thank you.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say that I was not present at yesterday's meeting, but of course I would have signed the proclamation. I really want to congratulate Susan Hahn for her service to the city and at the Seattle Channel. So wanted to say that for the record and congratulations to her. Thank you, CP.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Rivera. Okay, so we'll go ahead and present the proclamation, and then I will call up Brian. Are you here? Brian Callahan? Callahan? I'm sorry. I always mess up. I'm sorry, Brian. Yes. Okay, awesome. Shannon, then Brian, and then Susan. Hi, Shannon. Welcome. Hey.
Hi, I'm Shannon G. I'm the general manager of the Seattle Channel, and I am so excited that it is Susan Hahn Appreciation Day. Every day is Susan Hahn Appreciation Day at the Seattle Channel. We are so grateful and proud to have had Susan working with us and the city of Seattle for nearly 2 decades. She was the incomparable senior producer for our public affairs program, City Inside Out, and we all became sharper, smarter, and more civically engaged due to her focus, her persuasive personality, and her commitment to finding the voices to speak about our city. She brought us all together around that frosted desk in the Seattle Channel studios to discuss, learn, and examine the things that impact us as a municipality and a community. I love that this proclamation is happening here in Chambers, as this is a key place where Susan took her cues and ran with them. Describing Susan as a skilled and trusted news producer doesn't say the half of it. Her power to turn the issues discussed in this building into civic participation is testament to her ability to simultaneously hold clarity and nuance in complex issues. And her generosity in inviting many of us into the discussion helped to widen our viewpoints and world. So congratulations to Susan. Seattle Channel thanks you for all your years of service, your tireless community building, and your dedication to upholding media integrity and informing our city.
Awesome. Thank you, Shannon. Brian, welcome.
Brief interlude before I speak.
Hello, I'm Josephine Chang, former news reporter at Como, reporter at King's Evening Magazine, producer, reporter at KCTS, as well as Seattle Channel.
I'm Lori Matsukawa, 36 years as anchor at King 5 News. Hello, Joy. Hey. And also a proud friend of Susan Hahn.
As you can see, dear City Council, Susan has quite a cheering squad here today. That's because those of us who have worked with her and who have known her for decades definitely know that she is indeed a treasure.
At King TV, Susan was a producer at Evening Magazine. At KCTS 9, she produced many award-winning documentaries and shows, and of course here at Seattle Channel, where she produced City Inside Out, as well as other Emmy award-winning stories and shows.
Hardworking, diligent, creative, and thoughtful, Susan will not quit until the story or show is booked, until every component of a shoot is finalized, until every sentence of the script is polished, and until every frame of video is edited in the best possible way, given the constraints. She's really conscientious about making sure multiple sides of the story are heard. She is relentless about excellence in storytelling when so much less than that is considered acceptable. And she is a strong advocate for civic journalism when there's so much pressure working against it.
We'd like to thank the Seattle City Council and Councilmember Rink in particular for recognizing Susan, who's not only a fine producer, but she is also a wife, a mother, and a genuine friend. Thank you so much for recognizing her.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Members, thank you for this recognition during a busy time. Thank you to Councilmember Rink for shepherding this through and all of her staff. It's Susan Hahn Appreciation Day, and I definitely appreciate her. So for the past 15 years, I've worked with Susan at Seattle Channel. Together, we've actually produced more than 300 episodes of City Inside Out. She's produced more than 500, so we'll make sure we get that correction out there. And I'm talking about conversations with each of you as candidates, as you might remember there. I can say without hesitation that Susan is one of the finest journalists and colleagues I've ever known, and a fierce and loving friend. Before there was AI, there was Susan. If you wanted the cell phone number of the press secretary for a candidate that was on Seattle Channel 9 years ago, you would ask Susan. If you wanted opposing voices to speak out about transgender bathrooms or immigration policy, you'd ask Susan. Her work to research issues, book guests with competing voices to sit next to each other, and sharpen the questions that I wrote have set the standard for fairness at Seattle Channel. Guests knew they might face hard questions, but they also knew they'd be treated with respect. You don't often hear that word in relation to government affairs reporting in today's world, but Susan lives out that ethic every day. Susan earned 8 Emmys in her career. You probably heard that, but I'd say at least 9 because the Emmy that I won for Best TV Host a few years back is completely thanks to her. I hope her legacy, though, isn't completely measured by the awards she won or her decades of volunteer service to the Asian American Journalists Association or the Bellevue School District. Her legacy is truly all around you, from informing people about the work of local government to educating people about what's on their ballot for nearly 2 decades. Susan always had an exacting approach on the job because she knows the work of public affairs matters. She's persistent because the public deserves answers, and she sees the humanity in every issue too. I recall working with her on a fentanyl documentary 3 years ago. She set up an interview with a mother who had lost her child to an overdose. It was Susan who talked with this mother and helped her find the courage to open the door she kept closed to her daughter's room since her death, talk to us about how her daughter died, and tell her important story to the world. Seattle is better informed because of Susan. Seattle Channel is stronger because of her, and all of us who have worked beside her are better because of her example. I'm going to keep working on City Inside Out at Seattle Channel to honor Susan's legacy with her spirit in my heart. Susan, you have all my love and thanks. Congratulations on your retirement, and happy Susan Hahn Appreciation Day. I will appreciate you for every day to come. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Brian. And now we have Miss Susan Hahn. Welcome. Your day.
Thank you, Councilmember Rink, first of all, for this nomination. Donde? Where did you go? There you are. I'm just so thrilled and relieved that the City Council and Mayor Wilson found something to agree on. Hey! Yay! Uh-oh. Seriously? Too soon? Blown away by this proclamation. For the last 19 years, my goal as Seattle Channel producer has simply been to be fair, thorough, and balanced. Journalistic integrity is my North Star, and it means the world to be recognized for it. A huge thank you to my family and friends who have supported me every step of the way, including those who are in the room here today. To my first Seattle Channel station manager, Gary Gibson, thanks for hiring me. To the amazing Seattle Channel team, especially my 2 Inside Out hosts, Brian Callanan and C.R. Douglas, who are both here. Thank you so much for your dedication and hard work over the years. It's truly been an honor working with both of you. I'm hopeful the station will continue its excellent work and keep winning those Emmys. And to the city employees, elected officials, and community members who have said yes to our interview requests over the decades, our shows would not have happened without you. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Susan. And
CP. Joy.
going to take, sorry, this microphone, and now we're going to take a group photo. So we'll have Susan and everyone come up to the front. Not everyone in the audience, but the folks, sorry, just letting you all know. Only the Only the people that are coming up, I guess they know. And then Deanna Lee will take a photo. We'll pause here. It will be quiet.
Thank you. No, I know what you mean.
I think we should do 2 rows at least.
Squish, squish. More on this side.
All people in the back, please.
So if everyone, I have a microphone, Councilmember Kettle. We're good. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna scrunch in as best as we can, and we're gonna look at this camera right here at Deanna Lee. So we'll scrunch in. We'll scrunch in. Everyone scrunch in as much as you can. As much as you can. We're scrunching in as much as you can. All the people that might be a little shorter, you'll be in front. Okay, awesome.
Everybody can look over here at the camera. I'm going to take a couple, try not to blink.
Hey, Susan.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all for indulging us. For the record, we also have Councilmember Foster and Councilmember Juarez who have joined us. They have been here for a long time. I apologize. I did not recognize y'all when y'all came in.
This guy.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
Okay, so now we will transition, and we have one more proclamation as well. So thank you all. And then right after the proclamation, we'll jump into public comment. So if you are online and listening, we have one more proclamation, and we will jump right in online. Council Member congratulations, Susan and team and Seattle Channel. Thank you for all the work that you all do. We're so grateful for our Seattle Channel, Emmy Award-winning Seattle Channel. All right, Councilmember Saka will now address the proclamation recognizing August 11th, 2026 to be West Seattle Little League Softball Day. Councilmember Saka, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Council President, colleagues, members of the public. So today we get to honor and celebrate achievement in journalism and girls softball in West Seattle. Today, I am incredibly proud to introduce a proclamation to celebrate the historic achievement of the West Seattle Little League Girls 11U softball team for winning the whole dang thing, the whole state tournament at this year's championship. Their hard work, teamwork, and dedication truly embody the spirit of our community and that of our city. They played 7 games in 7 days and defeated the same team that handed them their first and only loss, not once, but twice, to claim the state title. And now I'm honored to read a few select passages from this honorary proclamation. I'll just share that I'm a fan of all youth sports across District 1. I'm a proud resident of District 1, so I've been following along on the sidelines, cheering on, reading West Seattle blog articles, articles from Westside Seattle about our various youth sports teams, and really excited to be able to cheer them on as a fan. This one is particularly proud because I got to cheer them on as a member of the community and cheer the team on and the coaches on as a proud father of one of the players. So I'm going to read a few select passages of this proclamation right now. Whereas the West Seattle Little League 11U girls softball team has demonstrated exceptional talent, teamwork, accomplishment, and sportsmanship throughout their 2026 season, and whereas the team achieved an outstanding combined record of 55-10, going 6-1 in the state tournament, playing 7 games in 7 days, and securing a decisive victory to win the 2026 Washington State Championship. And whereas this marks the first ever state championship won by a West Seattle Little League softball team. First ever. Making them one of only 3 West Seattle Little League teams and the only girls softball team to earn a state title. Whereas the girls captivated the hearts of those following their historic run, inspiring a wave of community pride and excitement in West Seattle and beyond. And now, therefore, the Seattle City Council does hereby proclaim August 11th, 2026 to be West Seattle Little League Softball Day. Congratulations on this historic run. Colleagues, I'll note that not many teams from the City of Seattle, Little League or rec teams from the City of Seattle end up winning major state championships like this. And so we're incredibly proud of the West Seattle Little League team because their accomplishments and achievements reflect not only great credit upon the West Seattle community, but from a citywide perspective as well. And again, first girls softball team in West Seattle history to do it, joining only 2 other baseball teams over 20 years. So congratulations. Would love the opportunity for a few speakers to say a few words, Madam Council President, if it
Absolutely.
please. Okay. And then we'll present the proclamation.
Absolutely, you got it, Councilmember Saka. I'll pause here to see if any other council member would like to say some comments. Councilmember Rivera?
Thank you, Council President. Like the last proclamation, I was not present when signatures were needed to be added. So congratulations. I would have added my signature had I been here, and I'm so excited for you all. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Rivera. And then now, if there are no objections, I'm going to suspend the rules so Councilmember Saka can present the proclamation. In my understanding, you have the team manager, Brent, here, coaches Brooke Fox and James Frazier that are here as well, and then other speakers.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
awesome.
correct, Madam Council President. Shall they speak first before we do the official presentation, or?
You could do you could present the proclamation and then they can speak whichever way you'd like.
Maybe we'll let them speak first.
Okay,
I'll give
awesome.
them, yep.
All right, so we're having team manager Brent and then coaches Brooke and James. Welcome.
I'm a coach of the West Seattle.
Talk in the microphone, Brent, or use your coach
I'm
voice.
the coach of the West Seattle Little League, along with Coach James and Coach Brooke. Council members, coaches, families, and community members, thank you for this incredible honor. On behalf of our U11 girls softball team, we are proud and grateful to accept this proclamation recognizing our state championship season. These young athletes showed tremendous dedication, teamwork, resilience, and sportsmanship throughout the year. Their success resulted in countless hours of effort, along with the support of their coaches, parents, and the entire community. Most importantly, they learned a great thing that can happen when you work hard, believe in each other, and have fun along the way. Thank you for celebrating these amazing girls and this special achievement with us. We are truly honored.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm going to let Mackenzie Hart speak now. She's one of our star pitchers of the team.
Awesome, welcome.
Hello. Hello, my name is Mackenzie Hart, and I am one of the pitchers for the West Seattle Little League 11U All-Star State Championship team. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what my teammates and I accomplished this season. Last year, as the 8, 9, 10-year-old All-Star team, we came just 1 game short of our goal. We had a heartbreaking 2-1 loss in the championship game at the state tournament. Instead of letting that loss discourage us, we used it as motivation. We came back this year ready to work hard, play together, and give it everything we had. With the support of our coaches, parents, families, and friends, we worked hard all season. During the district and state tournaments, we played 10 games, collected 90 hits, and scored 86 runs. We won the district championship and headed into state tournament with a lot of confidence. Our first state game ended in a tough 3-1 loss, which put us into the constellation bracket. At that point, we knew that if we didn't keep winning, our season would be over. So we kept fighting. We played almost every day. We grew stronger as a team, supported each other, and never gave up. Then, on Championship Saturday, we had to win twice to become state champions. We won our first game 2-1 in an extra inning thriller. Then we came back and won again 4-1 to secure the championship. We finished the district and state championships with a 9-1 record. We outscored our opponents 55-10 and went 6-1 at the state tournament. During the state tournament, I threw 433 pitches, recorded 48 strikeouts, and allowed just 4 earned runs. But the biggest accomplishment wasn't the numbers. We made history as West Seattle's first Little League softball state champions. To my teammates, I'm so proud of every one of you. Our outfielders made game-saving catches. Our infielders made incredible plays, including some that I honestly didn't think were possible. And Carmen, our catcher, caught all 7 of our state tournament games. What makes this team so special isn't just that we won. It's the way we played. We respected our opponents, supported each other, stayed positive through the tough moments, and carried ourselves with class, dignity, whether we won or lost. I am incredibly proud to have been part of this team. It has been an honor and privilege to be the starting pitcher for the West Seattle Little League 11U State Championship team. I also want to thank our coaches Brent, James, and Brooke for your dedication, encouragement, and countless hours you spent helping us become better players and better teammates. Thank you to our parents, families, friends, and everyone in our community who supported us, cheered for us, and believed in us along the way. And most of all, thank you to my teammates for believing in each other, fighting for each other, and never giving up. Last year, we came up 1 game short. This year, we finished the job. We didn't just win a championship. We made West Seattle history. Thank you.
And then the rules have been suspended. Councilmember Saka will come to present the proclamation. And then would you also like a picture, Councilmember Saka, as well? Okay, awesome. And then we will invite the young girls to come up. We're going to take a photo together. So if you all just start making your way right here to the right. Just this way, just follow. Awesome. And then right after this photo, we will jump right into public comment. Okay? Awesome. Thank you all. So we'll come up here. We'll take a photo with our young girls from the 11U, the state championship team. Hey. Congrats. Congrats. Awesome. You guys come in this way. Hello. Congratulations. Congrats. 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 Congrats.
I'm gonna give these extra to you.
Okay.
You guys come over here. You guys come over here. You guys come over here.
Scooch down. Get together.
Try and
There. Double up if you can. I'm doubling up. How about you stand forward and then your coach can stand in the back and you can get a little closer.
Okay, slide that way. How do we look?
Go ahead, Deanna.
Smile.
Count us down.
Perfect. Thank you. So cool. That's incredible.
Awesome. There we go. Congratulations. I heard the girls up here talking about back-to-back. That's what I did. I heard them say back-to-back titles. That's what I heard. Someone said back-to-back. Okay. We're going to jump right into the public comment. Colleagues, at this time, we're going to open up our favorite time, which is our hybrid public comment period. Public comment is limited to items on today's agenda, the introduction, referral calendar, and the council's work program. The council cannot accept comments on quasi-judicial items or campaign-related matters. Clerk, how many speakers do we have signed up today?
We have 75 in person and 30 remote.
You said 75 in person, plus 30 remote. Okay, awesome. So we are going to go over time, and that's allotted for our public comment period. So I am going to ask my colleagues. We're going to hear everyone speak today. Is that cool? I will not continue to extend the time. We will go as long as it takes. Is that cool? I'm looking left and right. Awesome. All right. So because we have over 100 people, we have about 100 people. We are going to do 1 minute. It's if you have 60 or less, it's less than 1 minute. I think that would just be ridiculous to do 30 seconds. So everyone's going to get 1 minute. Will the clerk please read the instructions to the public comment period?
The public comment period will be moderated in the following manner. Speakers will be called in the order in which they registered. Speakers will hear a chime when 10 seconds are left of their time. Speakers' mics will be muted if they do not end their comments within the allotted time to allow us to call the next speaker. The public comment period is now open, and we'll begin with the first speaker on the list.
Awesome. If you're waiting online, we're going to do the first 30 in person. Then we're going to bounce to you online, and we're going to come back. So if you are online, we're going to do 30 in person, and then we will come to you. So that will be about around 3:05, 3:10 is when it looks like we'll jump back online. All right. We have Yvette Dinish, followed by Josephine Chang, Samantha Poe. Then we have Pal, Julian, Manti, Elle, Aaron, and Josh. And I apologize if I said your name wrong. I apologize. But first we have Miss Yvette. Come on up. All right. Josephine, Samantha, Poe, Paul, Julian, Manti, Elle, Aaron, and Josh.
Impressive attendance today, isn't it? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I also want to, in support of Councilmember Rivera's urging the mayor to work with the National Network for Safe Communities, widely recognized for delivering results. I encourage her and to keep pushing on that. And there's a program in Philadelphia called the 8GBIC that's had very much success in reducing gun violence and keeping our kids from dying unnecessarily. And the other thing I have to say is bravo to the parents and the support team who support these girls in becoming state championship in baseball. I wish they'd had those programs when I was a kid, girls sports. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss.
Here's a handout too, regarding that program.
Thank you, Miss Yvette. Next we have Josephine, followed by Samantha and Poe. Is Josephine Chang here? Josephine? No? Okay, next we have Samantha. Samantha, good, welcome.
Hi, Councilmember Samantha Grad here on behalf of Teamsters 117 in support of the rental junk fee legislation. For many years as a renter in the city, I remember that dread and frustration when your lease was up and you were trying to figure out, is it gonna go up too much? I'm not gonna be able to afford my place. You then have to start looking online, scouring the internet, trying to find a place that is in your price range. You go do the tours, you find something that works, you feel that relief, except for wait, when you go to fill out the paperwork, all of these surprise fees suddenly kick it out of your budget. Our members are feeling that same squeeze right now. It is incredibly hard to find that. It is incredibly challenging to go through the entire process only to then be met with that surprise at the end. We are seeing folks all across our community experience this death by 1,000 cuts, and that's what these rental junk fees feel like. You feel like you finally found something that is in your budget only to then have the rug pulled out from you. And it's confusing at best, and at worst case scenario, it's dishonest. Please pass this legislation to ensure transparency in renting.
Thank you. Next we have Poe, followed by Paul. Poe, Paul, Julian. Is Poe? Polapai?
Yeah.
All right, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Polapai here with the Washington Housing Alliance in strong support of the proposed ban on junk fees. Thank you, Councilmember Foster, for your leadership, and to all 5 council members on the committee who voted yes. Please vote yes today and ensure that no amendments are added that will weaken protections, including anything that allows pet rent or requires tenants to opt out. Power dynamics are a significant factor, and opt-out requirements put tenants into very difficult situations. No tenant should be forced to pay these unfair, expensive, and often deceptive fees. Renters in Seattle are sharing that fees are oftentimes added after move-in at lease renewal, trapping tenants who can't afford to move. And the fees they are being charged are ridiculous. Seattle renters are paying a fee to pay rent, fees to cover utilities and management offices, fees to submit maintenance requests, fees that cover their landlord's insurance, and more. But these are just a few examples of unfair and costly fees that tenants are being forced to pay. You have an opportunity to stop this today. Please vote yes today and no on any harmful amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Poe. Next, we have Paul. Paul here. Julian. Is Paul here? Paul? Okay, welcome. Then Julian, then Manti.
I'm Paul Glumas, and I'm a leader of the Republican Party of King County. Earlier, I came here to speak about the corruption and criminality of the homeless industrial complex. Today, I'm going to address something deeper. Instead of treating crime and drug trafficking as matters of law enforcement, we are treating these as behavioral health matters. No belief could be more damaging to our city and its permissiveness to crime, but also in its rejection of the dignity of the criminal by rejecting the principle of personal agency and responsibility. If this continues, and people continue to think that that's how we solve the problems, taxpayers who are now leaving in trickles will later be leaving in droves, leaving behind poverty and misery in our neighborhoods.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we have Julian, followed by Manti. Julian, followed by Manti. And just a reminder, when people are speaking, if we could just be respectful, no booing. I'm not going to let them boo you either. So, let's just try to keep it cool, all right? Julian. So next we have Julian.
I'm Julian.
You're Julian Blackthorn?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay,
Hello.
hold on, Julian Blackthorn, and then we have Manti, and then Elle, Aaron, and Josh. Julian, welcome.
Hello. My partner V and I moved here in 2014. I am trans, masc, and non-binary, and I was raised MAGA. We fled Florida in the middle of the night because we weren't treated like humans. I've been told my whole growing up life that Seattle was a liberal paradise, and it sounded like paradise to me, a place where queer and trans folks like me and my partner could be accepted and just live. Unfortunately, it's truly only a haven for the richest white cisgender gays among us. Anyway, our car alternator died and I lost my job. We became houseless the first time in my life, and it was 18 months of hell. We got a hand up from Nicholsville and have lived in the same apartment now for 10 years. So why can't we have trans refugee villages? Why can't we use the millions of dollars Harold was spending on sweeping our houseless neighbors from street to street when an inordinate amount of them are queer and trans, and especially if they happen to also be Black, Indigenous, people of color? Why can't we use some of the millions going to the cops for surveillance when it didn't stop Juniper Blessing's public murder, nor the shooting murders at Bite of Seattle? This is one of the richest and queerest cities in the world. We need more than 300,000 for this influx of refugees, transgender and otherwise, and an Office of QT Affairs. Please, you'll be invested in poor, queer, and trans folks, and we need that right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. And then Elle, welcome.
You may call me Manti. I'm a spiritual leader in the Seattle trans community, and I am here to speak truth. 2 weeks ago, I said Seattle was like the innkeeper who promised my people rooms, yet when they arrived, had no rooms available. I asked you for mercy. Now you have shown us a small mercy, for while a pile of hay in the stable loft may not be adequate accommodations, it is in fact a room, and it is in fact at the inn. For this, I express small gratitude. With this $0.3 million, equivalent to the salary of about 2.5 junior police officers, our local mutual aid orgs could house 16 trans people for a year. To those who complain about how even this is too much, I ask you, why do you care about so much about so little money? The chief of police alone has $19 million budgeted. The SPD overall $488 million. Think of the 20,000 people that money could be housing rather than being used to ruin lives with violence. Yet ruining lives is what the critics are here to do. They claim to be budget hawks, but they are vultures who prey upon me and my community for fun and profit. I ask the city council not to heed the words of such godless people. Pray they someday find love, and do not make their shame your own by condensing their bloodlust. And Ari, please don't pull guns on people in the park.
So next we have Elle. Thank you, Manti. Now we have Elle, followed by Aaron, and then Josh. Welcome, Elle.
Hi, thank you. Elle Cree, I am from Stone Soup Crew, and I am a transgender refugee, and I'm here to say thank you to everybody that's on this panel. And then as a member of this district, you're going to vote today on something that's very near and dear to my heart. We are a community-based organization in Stone Soup Crew. Every Wednesday, we're out there meeting and greeting and feeding many of the refugees that are coming here. Don't tell me that we're not putting ourselves on the line, and we deserve our recognition. And as such, we've invited y'all to our anniversary dinner that is going to be held on the 26th of September, and I put that in your basket. I just wanted to show something real quick. This is the stone donation that I received on Wednesday that was whizzed by my head on 12th and Howell while I tried to help a unhoused transgender person. And this is the reality that we face. We deserve our place in the sun too. Thank you for letting me be among these transgender giants that are sitting here behind me and that will lead this world someday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Al.
Hi, hard to follow that. My name is Josh Fries. I'm the treasurer of Seattle's LGBTQ Center and Calgary O'Connor Initiative, a Trans Faculty Network. My opinions are my own. You've already heard some of the experiences, the lived experiences of the trans folks here. You're going to hear so much more after me. What I'm going to tell you right now is the financial and logisticals part. We are ready for this money that you appropriated last week. We have budgetary controls, we have spending controls, we're ready to deal with HSD grants. So for all those that are behind me that say that we don't know how to spend this money, that we don't know what to do with it, I say we're gonna show you so much joy and community care than you'll ever see. And if you have a question about a budget, ask me. I can tell you how to balance a balance sheet. Thank you.
Next we have, are you Aaron? Okay, awesome. All right, Aaron, welcome. Before you go, let me tell the next 10 people. So we'll have Jillian, Ruth, Craig. We have Ms. Torres. I can't read your first name, I apologize. Ms. Torres. We have Michael, Danica, Victoria, Rachel, Alexia, and Caroline. You all are up next. Okay, welcome.
All right. My name is Aaron. I'm here to talk about the amendment allocating funds to provide resources to the trans community. I am a trans person who relocated here from the Dakotas to find community and a better life for myself. I'm not gonna lie, this search for a better existence has partially eluded me since losing my corporate job. It's hard enough to find consistent work as a trans person, especially when there is more variety in a chip aisle than the city's job market. I did, however, find community, and I would not be standing here today if it wasn't for this. I have met people who are willing to donate out of pocket what little money they had to help trans people with rental assistance, food, medical costs, and other basic needs. Which leads to the question, what message does it send that those with barely a cent to their name are doing more to help the trans community than our own government? You can claim to care for and protect trans people, but actions speak louder than words. And I plead with the City Council to find it in their hearts to vote yes on that amendment.
Thank you, Aaron. Next, we have Jillian, followed by Ruth, Craig. Welcome.
Council members, my name is Jillian England. Seattle faces shrinking business activity, high office vacancies, and rising property taxes. The commercial tax base is under pressure. Yet we're being asked to expand spending on discretionary programs for a narrow category of newcomers, while the city's more core services and fiscal foundation remains strained. Every new obligation competes with public safety, infrastructure, and the basic conditions that keep employers and residents here. Compassion that ignores the budget is not compassion. It is deferred cost shifted to the people already paying higher taxes. Stabilize the tax base first, then consider expansions, please. My name is Jillian England. Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. Next, we have Ruth, followed by Craig. Ms. Torres.
Could the signs be lowered while I'm talking?
They have the freedom to do that, to lift those up.
Well, it doesn't seem right because then they were taking away from my voice.
They can't block the person behind them, but they are allowed to hold the signs.
Okay.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Ruth Berga. I live in Seattle. I reference the song IT by Christine and the Queens on the album Chaleur Humana to my comments. On August 4, this council voted on Amendment 5, CB 121253, amending Ordinance 127362. This proposal is about sex, and that word describes both a body type and an activity. This proposal adopts the current definition this week of LGBTQ, which includes something different, an identity, not an identity that can be proven through court or hospital records, simply the identity an individual has chosen for the day. The equivalent of about 60 single-family homes would donate their entire hard-fought property tax to fund a slush fund for people who can't even prove what they are, what they claim to be.
Pause your time. Hold on. Pause time. We'll put 15 seconds back so she can finish. I'm just going to ask really nicely that we be respectful to everyone. I will not let them boo I will not let anyone get booed, no matter what their comments, how we disagree, agree, whatever it is. We just got to be respectful. I hear you. I hear you. But I'm going to protect your right to speak as well. I got you. I hear y'all. 15 seconds, only 15 seconds. She already talked. Just 15 seconds, replace.
I'm being respectful to everyone.
No,
the city
just give me
already
one
sets aside
second.
millions for the
1
homeless
second.
and more millions for
Let us, hold on
immigrants.
1 second. We'll start your time and then you'll be able to continue.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Now? So I said for a slush fund for people who can't even prove that they are what they claim to be. This city already sets aside millions for the homeless and more millions for immigrants. Yet this subgroup of people come asking for a special handout. They want this money without any strings and with their own definition.
Thank you, Ruth. You can put your comments in the basket as well. Yeah, you're good. No worries. Thank you, Ruth. Okay, now we have Craig, followed by Ms. Torres. Welcome, Craig.
Thank you, President Hollingsworth. My name is Craig Thompson. I'm a longtime advocate and activist on Northwest Beacon Hill. I am also called the Jungle Guy. There, how's that?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm here today to support Councilmember Lynn's amendment to Council Bill 121253. This would create two positions that would help coordinate the outreach and other efforts that are taking place today in Little Saigon, the North Rainier Valley, and also Northwest Beacon Hill. These positions will help make a whole program possible so that there will be a public safety component taking place in our neighborhood, and there will be real outreach. So I hope that all of you will support Council Lynn's amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Next we have Ms. Torres. Amar. I messed
You're
up your
great,
name.
no worries.
That's
It's
my
a
bad.
mouthful, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amaranthia Torres from the Coalition Ending Gender-Based Violence. We support the ban on hidden fees and Amendments A and E, as well as the amendment supporting the trans community. I'll be reading remarks from Tosh Hansen Day, who couldn't be here today. They support deaf and deaf-blind survivors at member program Abused Deaf Women's Advocacy Services in D5. Tosh says, survivors experience trauma from the abuse they go through, including financial abuse. People who cause harm will often use finances to control survivors and force them to stay in abusive relationships. This could look like ruining their credit, sabotaging their job, or for deaf survivors, taking their monthly Social Security checks. Sometimes abusers take over survivors' finances so they never learn how to budget or manage money sufficiently. The result is often poor credit, homelessness, and poverty. Most survivors subsequently struggle to find stable housing after fleeing abuse. Add the exorbitant housing costs in Seattle, and the situation is often impossible. Oh my gosh. Survivors deserve a transparent move-in process where all fees are stated clearly. Join our work to end gender-based violence by leading by example. Do not continue practices that mirror financial abuse, such as—
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next we have Michael. Is Michael Woodward here? Michael Woodward? No? Okay. Deanna? Oh, my bad. I'm sorry, Michael. I missed you.
That's right. Hello again, council members. Michael Woodward from Traction. I've been living in the world as a trans man since the 1990s. I'm here to urge you to vote yes on CB 1252 as amended last week. Trans displacement is a civic emergency. You've already heard the numbers. More than 50,000 displaced trans people are already here or on their way. The need is only growing. In the 3 years since we started this work, we've received one $10,000 foundation grant for all this work, just one. I'm still standing here as Traction's sole paid staff member only because some individual donors came through just as our account balances were sliding from black to red. We all know $300,000 is not enough, but I want to come back here and thank you. I want the city to be the first to say trans people who flee here deserve help. Sharon McMahon wrote, "The arc of the moral universe doesn't bend itself. Someone has to pull it." That can be you. Vote yes. let us thank you, then let us get back to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next, we have Danica. Is Danica? I got you. Danica, next by Victoria, Rachel, Alexia, and Caroline. Danica, Victoria, Rachel, Alexia, Caroline. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Danica Noble. I spent 20 years with the Federal Trade Commission and the last 10 years as the chair of our State Bar Association's Antitrust, Consumer Protection, and Unfair Business Practices section. I am in favor of the junk fee ban. And it's more than a question of just an extra fee. It's more than the invisible tax raising prices across the economy. It's more than all the convenience fees that we've all paid and have never found convenient. It asks a question about whether our markets can be fair in an increasingly digital world. And it's something that we absolutely need. The digital markets promise transparency for consumers. Junk fees hide those and prevent that. Chair Khan at the Federal Trade Commission assumed 54 million hours would be saved by a nationwide junk fee ban. The other problem is it incentivizes dishonest business practices and punishes those that would make those transparent. So if a consumer should pay it, they should see it before they decide to buy. That's how we make this not deceptive.
Thank you, Danica. Next, we have Victoria, followed by Rachel, Alexia, Caroline. Welcome.
Hello, Council. My name is Victoria Palmer, and I am a District 6 resident and Executive Board member of the King County Republican Party. I'm here today to speak against funding for the trans and queer community, like the $300,000 proposed in today's budget amendment bill CB 121253. Mayor Wilson's office rejected the request for an emergency. There's no reason to spend money, public money, to pay expenses for what is simply adults moving to Seattle. The videos I've posted on this topic have drawn much public attention and outrage with over 330,000 views on all platforms. It's time to put an end to our reputation for being free-addle and return to funding projects that build our city and benefit all. Gauging by primary election results and Danny Westneat's analysis in the Times, this whole socialist movement thing actually isn't catching on here. And while we Republicans don't get much respect in Seattle—
Thank you, Victoria. Victoria, thank you. Thank you so much. Rach, I can control the meeting, okay? You guys are okay. Okay, we have Rachel, followed by Alexia, and then Caroline. And then after that, we'll go to the next 10 people, and then we're going to go to online. So that's 30 in person, then we'll go online, and we'll come back. Rachel Snell, welcome.
And members of the City Council, my name is Rachel Snell, and I am strongly here to advocate for banning junk fees. In a time where rent's already unbelievably expensive, no one should have to choose between medical bills, groceries, or rent, let alone adding junk fees on top of it all. I mean, are you kidding? Anyway, this piece of legislation will provide much needed relief to renters like myself and many other renters that are in this room today, as well as other people that are not in this room today. And just a friendly reminder that to be an elected official is an honor. It is an honor to be an elected official because you are voted on by the people. And so it is your job. It is your job to enact and enforce legislation that help improve the lives of your constituents, not harm your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Next, we have Alexia, followed by Caroline. Alexia, welcome. Then Caroline, you're up. Thank you.
Hello, guys. Hi. My name is Alexia Sattler, and I'm a renter living in South Lake Union. I urge the council to ban rental junk fees and take meaningful action to protect renters in Seattle and oppose Amendments C and D. When I lived in Eastlake, I was charged a $15 administration fee and $50 technology fee on top of the advertised rent. And these charges may seem small, but housing is already very expensive for a lot of people, a lot of my friends, my coworkers too. For every single apartment I rented in Seattle, I found myself going back and forth with property managers, trying to negotiate or question what these charges were, only to be told that there was nothing they could do about it. I'm a college student with 2 jobs. This is really unfair. Renters should not have to fight their landlords just to understand or challenge the true cost of their housing. I ask the council to stand with the majority of Seattle households who rent their homes. Please support the bill to ban rental junk fees and oppose harmful amendments.
Thank you, Alexia. Next we have, thank you. Next, Caroline. Before you go, the next people up before you go. All right, it's going to be Chris, Apostate. Did I say that right? Apostate? Apostle. Anyway, I'm sorry. Anitra, Ivan, Heather, Tennessee, Aiden, Kristen, Lexi, and Vera. And I apologize if I mess up your name. Caroline, welcome.
Hi, Council. My name's Caroline Russell. I'm a renter in District 3, and I'm here in support of banning all rental junk fees, but I want to talk specifically about pet rent for a moment. I've been renting in Seattle for 7 years, and in that time, I've paid thousands of dollars in rental fees, with most of that coming from pet rent for my cat. She has cost me as much as $75 a month in pet rent, despite never doing any damage to my apartment, let alone the building itself. This money has been pure profit for my landlord. Landlords have tried to pitch pet rent as an equity issue to give this fee the veneer of progressivism, but it is the poorest and most marginalized people in the city who are the most impacted and the most at risk of eviction over the inability to pay an extra monthly fee, especially since these fees are not covered by housing vouchers. Pet rent preys on tenants' love for their pets to extract every last drop of profit from them. This is a majority renter city, and we are all tired of being nickeled and dimed by landlords while rent prices skyrocket and threaten our housing stability. I urge you to ban junk fees, to pass Amendments A and E, and to vote no on Amendments C and D, which will weaken this bill and hurt renters, and protect trans people now and forever.
Thank you, Caroline. Chris, is Chris Paul.
Good afternoon, Anitra Freeman.
Hold on 1 second, Anitra. We're looking for Chris. Chris is up next. Chris,
okay.
and then
Sorry.
Chris Paulson, I'm a renter living in Madison Park.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Chris Paulson. I'm a renter living in Madison Park. I urge the council to support the proposed ban on rental fees. I oppose amendments C and D. Most renters getting stuck with these fees don't have the luxury of taking time out of the middle of a workday to testify at City Hall, so I want to use my time for them as much as myself. I currently pay $30 a month to keep our cat, which I already pay a damage deposit for, and the landlord bears no additional cost simply for the presence of my cat in the unit. I also get charged $250 a month for just paying the rent. So I'm just going to surrender the rest of my time just to say that I support the bill and oppose the amendment C and D. Thank you.
thank you, Chris. Apostate. Okay.
Hello. Hi, my name's Ari. I came in to talk about the $300,000 that you guys want to give to the trans and queer community. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous that in a city that has a housing crisis, sex trafficking problem, and a city that has a serious drug problem, you guys want to give $300,000 away in the name of a fictional genocide that's not occurring. Okay, I think it's really insulting to people who have actually suffered an attempt by governments to systemically erase their existence from this land. I think it's insulting to this nation. What's really happened is trans migrants have moved from state to state, just like me. Like I came here 10 years ago for the same thing, just for opportunity, rebuilt my whole life, found love. But they've moved because women, adult human females, have said they're not comfortable with males in their bathrooms, in their prisons, in their rape shelters, okay? And so they've come here to hide so they can oppress women. That's what it's really about. And I just think it's absolutely ridiculous to see a city council with this many women on it who do not know what women are. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. You have Trump's FBI breaking up sex.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you, Ari. Next, thank you, Ari. So, all right, so we're gonna go to the next speaker, okay? Anitra is next, followed by Ivan. Anitra, we're still doing public comment, y'all. Hold on,
I'm here speaking in favor of the junk fees legislation. For one thing, all agreements should be opt-in as a matter of simple fairness. You shouldn't have to, sign a lease and find out that you've obligated yourself to 30 extra expenses that you didn't know about. And the other thing, I have had a cat for 30 years. I'm used to putting a deposit down. I don't know any apartment dweller in Seattle who takes their cat outside at all. There's that cat is in our apartment. I have a deposit for any damage it does. I don't need to be charged for anything that happens anywhere outside the apartment. So keep it fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Anitra. Next, we have Ivan, followed by Heather. Ivan, and then Heather. Welcome. Ivan, Heather, Tennessee, Aiden, Kristen, Lexi, Vera. And then we'll go online. Welcome.
Yeah. My name's Ivan. I'm in District 5. I am homeless, but, you know, I really would love to be able to afford rent. I am on disability, which means pretty much I can't afford rent. The landlords are adding fees and other predatory billing practices to skirt protections designed to protect renters from price gouging. And, you know, like I always say, Jesse James needed a gun.
Thank you. Now we have Heather, followed by Tennessee, Aiden, Kristen, Lexi. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Heather. I live in Tent City 3, located in District 4. Our tagline today is, we can't afford the rent, so we live in a tent. Urge the council to take action today to ban unnecessary housing costs, but strongly oppose Amendment C and D. My biggest hurdle in acquiring traditional housing is pet rent. There's no way a single mom with a pet making less than $60,000 a year can afford rent in Seattle, let alone pet rent and other predatory unnecessary housing fees. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. We have Tennessee. Did I say your name right? Tennessee?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Aiden, Kristen, Lexi, Vera. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Terrence McGibbon. I'm a longtime resident of Rainier North. First, I want to thank council members Lynn and Foster for all their help in our neighborhood and stuff. They've been real champions helping us out. I'm here to support and ask you to support Amendment A. I don't have all the answers, but I will tell you this. If this money is appropriated, you have myself and the trash walkers around Rainier Avenue North. You'll have boots on, what that's saying, boots on the pavement, whatever. You'll have a lot of support from us because I want to get our neighborhood back to where it should be. And, you know, I want to thank a few people besides the council members. Jenny Franco, Adopt a Street, you know, Tracy from Find to Fix It. I'm the Find to Fix It King, and I'm the Adopt a Street King. So appreciate all the help that everybody does. Thank you.
Thank you, King. Next, we have Aiden, followed by Kristen, Lexi, Vera, and we'll go online. Welcome.
My name is Aiden. I'm a renter in District 5 off of Lake City, and I want to comment on the junk fee ban. The proposed ban on junk fee is what they call an easy win. Make a little splash in the news, feel good about being a representative. You know, normal people, your voters, get to keep a little bit of their hard-earned wages on your behalf. And I'm sorry, how exactly is my pet supposed to be paying rent again? Is Todd the cat supposed to get a job? I suppose Todd the cat needs to set aside a little money every month from his Social Security check so he can pay his rent. Todd the cat is going to be evicted for failing to pay his rent on time and needs to plead his case in court so he can keep a roof over the head for his 14 kittens. What are we talking about? What kind of evil Dr. Eggman type thinks pet rent is something we would tolerate? Pets can't pay rent. Pets don't pay rent. Don't let landlords make up nonsense fees so they can squeeze every last dime out of the hardworking voters of the city. Please vote yes on Amendments A and E, which will strengthen this bill, and vote no on Amendments C and D, which will weaken renters' protection. Thank you.
Thank you, Aiden. Next, we have Kristen, followed by Lexi, and then Vera. Kristen? Welcome. And then Lexi and Vera.
Hi, just for the record, my name is pronounced Kirsten.
Kirsten, I'm sorry.
K-I-R-S-T-E-N.
My bad. Let's
Thank
restart
you.
our time.
No worries. It
We'll
happens
restart
all
your
the
time.
time.
Okay, restart our time. There
Okay,
you go.
started my time. Okay.
No, we
I am
restarted. We
an
restarted.
intern at Bird Bar Place. It's a nonprofit, and we help at, we just help the community. And I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I'm speaking on what I see and what I hear from my own personal experience working in social services. We get about soft numbers, we get about 1 in 4 calls asking for rental assistance due to evictions. So we are facing a crisis in housing and evictions right now in King County, right now in Seattle, not just north, not just south, all over, even in Bellevue, even Shoreline. So it's sort of this western part of Seattle. Anyways, I want to invest in the community. We want to invest in the community, so we can't have these fees because we want to invest in families, communities, education.
Awesome. Thank you, Kirsten. Next, we have Lexi, followed by Vera. Welcome, Lexi.
Hello, I'm Lexi Salas. I'm a renter in District 3, and I'm here today to urge our council to vote to ban junk fees without amendments C and D. Council President, you met my dog Zombie. You thought he was so cool, so please don't make him pay rent. Seattle's a majority renter city, and it's about time we have a council that represents our interests and doesn't uphold the status quo, privileging property owners over tenants. For too long, landlords and developers claim that any additional protections for tenants will result in the sky falling. However, renters in our city experience the sky fall on us whenever we have to choose between food for our pets or pet rent. The sky falls on renters when we are slammed with pay or vacate notices and we don't have money for moving costs. The sky falls on renters when we are evicted and left to fend for ourselves on the streets of Seattle. The sky falls disproportionately on trans renters, which is why the council must also fund resources for our trans neighbors. So Seattle City Council, you have the opportunity today to be a national leader for renters by banning rental junk fees without amendments C and D. So please make the right choice and side with renters who make up the majority of our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Lexi. Next, we have Vera. Welcome.
Hello, my name's Vera. I'm an organizer at Got Green, and I urge the council to support the proposed ban on rental fees while opposing amendments C and D. Through hundreds of conversations with our working class Black and brown neighbors in South Seattle, Got Green has heard that rent increases, housing insecurity, displacement, unsafe and unhealthy living conditions, and disrespect are what renters contend with every day. Meanwhile, landlords and real estate tycoons amass wealth, and there's less and less public investment in healthy housing. Landlords have the power to make business decisions, including setting rental rates. With that power, they must bear the costs and the risks, just like any other business. This bill, which reduces hidden and unnecessary housing costs and staffs SDCI to enforce them, is an important step in the right direction. Support the bill to ban rental fees and oppose harmful amendments C and D, and moving forward, keep strengthening rental protections and enforcement. Thank you. And I want to say, trans rights are human rights. Trans rights forever.
Thank you, Vera. Next, we're going to go online. All right, now we're going to go online. So we have Angie, Wes, Mr. Alvarez, Ryan. You're going to press *6 to unmute yourself. Welcome, Angie. *6 to unmute yourself. You're on mute, Angie. *6. We'll bump up wet. Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Angie. I'm a small landlord from Ballard and a co-founder of Seattle Grassroots Landlords. We are opposed to the bloated and flawed rental fee legislation. We participated in the mayor's charade of a stakeholder process. Excuse me, I just had to run in from working outside and I'm out of breath. One moment. Renters deserve transparency of costs, not an expensive, over-idealized approach that makes lofty promises without grounding in the actual costs, risks, and complexities of providing rental housing in Seattle. This moved out of council's committee with a 5-0 vote and not one meeting involving housing providers or Q&A about rental operations. You haven't even publicly released the 2025 end-of-year REAL report. This is poor governance in action. Please vote no. Please work on collaborative problem solving. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Next, we have Wes, followed by Mr. Alvarez. *6 to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council. My name is Wes Mills, and I'm a renter in Northgate with my wife and our adorable dog. I would have joined you in person today, but while I am to the left, I'm also employed, so I have to call in during work hours, and I'm thankful for the option. I'm commenting in support of the overall proposal to ban junk fees, and particularly in opposition to Amendment C and D. Nobody likes junk fees, and if we did, everyone would be lining up to sing the praises of Comcast and would speak highly of the process of financing the car. But housing is different. I can choose not to go to some businesses but I have to have somewhere to live. And disclosure is not enough because by the time we've gotten 80 pages deep in a lease, only discovered the convenient opt-out for some valuable program, or worse, that a junk fee is actually required, it's already too late. My wife and I pay almost $100 a month between pet rent. My dog is unemployed, so we're covering it for her. Amenity fees for things like use of the building access control system, and charges for common area stuff. And that's after we've managed multiple times to beat back the sneaky opt-out, but only if you notice fees for stuff like liability waivers. Please pass the bill without amendment CSD and do us majority renters in town.
Thank you, Wes. Next, we have Mr. Alvarez, followed by Ryan, and then Taluna.
Thank you. I'm strongly against Amendments C and D for the junk fee legislation. What's most egregious with the pet rent carve-out is that the amendment ties it to inflation in the economy. When do renters get any such benefit into law? Landlords don't care about the rates of unemployment or layoffs, or that wages don't keep up with sales taxes, medications, grocery prices. The rent is always due, no matter what the Consumer Price Index reports. Until we have, until we have rent discounts to help with dips in consumer income, landlords should have no such benefit for themselves. No on all junk fees that nickel and dime us into crisis and homelessness. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Next, we have Ryan, followed by Taluna, and then Kelsey. Star 6, unmute yourself.
Hi, Council. My name is Ryan Talon. I'm a registered nurse at Harborview, and I'm a renter in Capitol Hill. I urge this Council to ban rental junk fees and to oppose Amendments C and D. Honest markets require honest pricing. When I moved into my building, I budgeted carefully based on the advertised rent, but hidden pet rent and recurring administration fees caught me completely off guard. The true cost was buried in fine print, making it impossible to compare options accurately or plan my finances. This lack of transparency hurts renters and it distorts the entire housing market. Banning junk fees is a simple step towards a fairer market where advertised prices reflect real costs. Renters deserve to know what housing actually costs before signing a lease. Please support this bill to increase transparency and ban deceptive junk fees and oppose harmful amendments C and D. Also, lastly, I just want to say that the trans community trying to move Seattle by making housing costs more transparent is a way to help them. So please support the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Next, we have Taluna, followed by Kelsey. Susan.
Hi, my name is Talana Reed with the Tenants Union of Washington State. Please vote yes on the junk fees ordinance and reject Amendments C and D. Of the callers, we get over 200 callers a month with different issues, and approximately 80% of those are about junk fees. Pets do not have jobs and cannot afford to pay their rent either. It is very important to ensure that Seattle residents are able to afford their rent. These are hidden costs that renters are already paying, and renters deserve straightforward pricing that reflects what they will actually be paid out of pocket. Pet rent is predatory. It exploits the love people have for their pets, and landlords should not be allowed to find new and creative ways to get money from the people who rely on them for housing. Please vote yes on this ordinance.
Thank you, Talana. Next, we have Kelsey, followed by Susan. Star 6.
Hello. My name is Kelsey Timmer, and I'm a renter in District 3, as well as a city worker and member of Protect 17. I'm speaking today to ask City Council to support banning junk fees, to support Amendments A and E to allow renters to be fairly compensated for harms, and to oppose Amendments C and D. It's hard enough to afford living in the city I work for, and junk fees only make it harder. The junk fees I've paid the most are pet rent. Each year I pay over $300 extra in rent because I have a cat. This just doesn't make sense. Any extra risk of damage should be covered under a refundable pet deposit, and any utilities my cat is somehow using, I'm already paying for. Pet rent is just one of many junk fees and another excuse for landlords to increase their revenue, which makes it harder for people to afford housing in our city. I urge you, please support the bill to ban junk fees, support Amendments A and E, and oppose Amendments C and D. Finally, trans rights are human rights. Please support our trans neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. We have Susan, followed by Ken, and then Rose. Susan.
Good afternoon. Susan Riggs with the ASPCA. I'm speaking in support of the junk rental fees ordinance as currently written and against the proposed Amendment C. As it stands today, landlords have at their disposal both security deposits and pet deposits to address any pet-related damages. Furthermore, there's little evidence that landlords incur widespread pet-related costs that justify ongoing monthly costs. Specifically, recent research has found that only 9% of pets cause any damage, the majority of which is repaired by tenants prior to vacancy, with the average damage costing just $210, which is easily covered by the current requirements. Opponents of this ordinance argue that eliminating pet rent and non-refundable fees will force landlords to raise rents for everyone. However, data from Denver, Colorado, where pet rental fees were capped effective January 2024, showed a significant reduction in rents following the law's enactment and no change in pet-friendly rental inventory. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Next, we have Ken, followed by Rose. Ken, star 6.
Hello, my name is Ken Timmons. I strongly support Amendment A to Council Bill 121253. I have lived in Mount Baker for 34 years. I last spoke to you on April 7th and described the crisis in our neighborhood. Well, the crisis continues. In the past 4 months, we've had arsons, shootings, overdose deaths, more encampments, drug dealings, theft and vandalism to businesses and property, and a recent home burglary, and now suspected prostitution. We have made multiple 911 calls, filed many find it, fix it reports, and contacted Metro numerous times to address drug use at our bus stops. We have been trying to improve our neighborhood, but we are exhausted and we are frustrated. Councilmember Lynn's amendment will bring a focused effort on a problem that is too big for us. Pass this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rose, followed by Steve, and then Alice.
Hello. Thank you, Council President Hollingsworth. I was able to meet with your office yesterday and have some productive conversations. I look forward to having more conversations in the future. The trans community is in crisis. I came here 20 months ago hoping that there would be more support here for the community, but myself and many others paid out of our pocket to help the community with resources that the city should have been providing. There are many individuals that are at the breaking points, both mentally and financially. We need this support, and this support is good that we have today. I would encourage the council to not just see this as a one-time financial measure, but to look forward to how we can help the community going forward, because this is an ongoing issue that is only going to get considerably worse as the years go on. So please support our communities. We deserve it. It is what we all need. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Next, we have Steve, then followed by Alice. Welcome, Steve.
Hello, my name is Steve Kinnold. I've been a resident of North Rainier for 34 years. Today, I'm urging you to support Councilman Lynn's Amendment A to the supplemental budget to establish a community fund intended to bring public safety outreach programs to our neighborhood. On April 7th, a group of us attended your council meeting and presented an impact study that we conducted along North Rainier. We asked you to address issues of crime, general safety, and to help the unhoused. We now feel that you've listened to our concerns because this proposed amendment addresses these issues. Councilman Lynn, Foster, and Hollingsworth, you've been on the ground in this area many times and you understand the urgency of implementing this plan. And Councilman Strauss, you've spoken of its success in other districts and your willingness to expand to North D2. We want to thank you all. We also want you to know that once this community fund is established, we're ready to go to help the outreach staff.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we have Alice, followed by Dr. Janice, and then James Wu.
Good afternoon, Council. This is Alice Lockhart calling from District 5. And I wanted very short to urge you to please pass BB 121254, the junk fee ban, and keep it a complete ban by not passing weakening amendments. I'm sorry, C and D, I believe, the last two kettle amendments. You know it's the right thing to do. Stay strong. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex. We're going to do Dr. Janice and then James, and then we're going to come back in person. So Dr. Janice Clark, then James Wu.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Janice Clark, founder, visionary, and president of Safe Homes. I rise today in strong support of the 5 appointments to the Indigenous Advisory Council, and with deep gratitude to the Department of Neighborhoods, President of Seattle Council, Ma'am Yu, and all council members for the award process that selected Safe Homes Women Veterans Program pilot for food security and resiliency initiative. This pilot, funded through the sweetened beverage tax, affirms that food is culturally, emotionally, and intellectual nourishment. It feeds the brain and shapes decisions that affect the safety of those who live, work, and worship in our city. As we move forward, it is essential that Indigenous women veterans are also identified and given an opportunity to participate. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Next, we have James. Before you start, James, this is just a time check. We still have about 60 more speakers. So I'm going to say the next 10 speakers that are in person. We're going to have James Wu go online, but before, so we can kind of get set with people in the queue, we have Kate Rubin, followed by Casey. We have Andrea. We have Margaret. We have Ben Wong, Samuel Wolfson, Megan, Steph, Aaron, and then Ruby, R-U-B-A-I, Rubai. So we have those people that are next. James, you will go, and then we'll go to Kate Rubin. Welcome, James.
Hello, my name is James Wu. I am a homeowner in D5. I urge the council to support 1254 and the amendments A and E, as well as the budget elements for transfer refugee funding. I find it very interesting that only homeowners get 30 years of permanently stable housing price control, but that in the middle of a housing crisis, a climate refugee crisis, and a transfer refugee crisis, renters instead get creatively hidden layered fees like pet rent. I also oppose amendments C and D. I know that Councilmember Kettle have no qualms criticizing fees that are, quote, one-off and piecemeal, as long as they're called taxes. Last July, he criticized one-off tax solutions. This March, he railed on the layering of tax on tax and piecemeal taxes. Last month, he argued taxes are being passed individually with no notion of cumulative financial burden. Well, rental one-time off fees are layered on fees and piecemeal fees when it's for private profit, just not to fund public services. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Next, we have Kate Rubin, Casey, Andrea, Margaret, Ben, Samuel, Megan, Steph, Aaron, Ruby.
My name is Kate Rubin. I am the co-executive director of Be Seattle, and I am co-facilitator of the Stay House, Stay Healthy Coalition, a group of about 40 organizations that have been working on this bill. The coalition supports amendments A and E that would help renters get some of the money back that their landlords have taken from them. And we are opposed to amendments C and D. We think that pet rent is exploitative. There is no justification for charging renters $300 per year plus inflation. And there is no justification for opting renters into optional fees. We urge you to stand with renters and pass this common sense bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Next, we have Casey, followed by Andrea, and then Margaret. Welcome.
Thank you for having us this afternoon. My name's Casey. I am a vice chair of the Seattle Renters Commission. I'm also a member of the Stay House, Stay Healthy Coalition and a former tenant attorney. I'm asking that you support this junk fee ban with the exception of amendments C and D. The fact that there's even a cap that is being proposed suggests that what landlords have been charging, they don't need. And frankly, they don't need to charge it, period. They've got security deposits, they've got pet deposits. Your landlord can go after you if there's damage to the unit when you move out. Seattle renters spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars just to make sure that they can keep their companion with them. And for landlords, this is dollars and cents. But for renters, this is their home, their family, and their support. Simply put, pet rent is not fair, it's a scam, and we ask that you pass this bill without C&D.
Thank you, Casey. Andrea, welcome, followed by Margaret.
Hello, my name is Andrea, and I've been a renter in Seattle for 19 years. I'm also a proud dues-paying member of the Carpenters Union for 9 years now. And I'm also a proud, longtime single mom of a trans young adult. As other people have mentioned, junk fees are a way for landlords to squeeze more out of us tenants without being subject to regulation. This council has the power today to end that, starting now. As a renter and mother of a beloved trans person, our interests as people who are trans, who love trans people, and our renters should not be pitted against each other. So I urge council to grant the proposed funding for trans support now, and to look for other ways that don't add to housing costs for working class people, cis and trans. Thank you.
Thank you. Followed by Ben. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Margaret Shield from D5, and I'm here in support of Councilmember Foster's bill to prohibit unfair, unregulated rental fees. So I'm a homeowner now, but during the 20 years I was a renter here, landlords did not use these fees on us. This is a recent unfair practice that evades fair market competition and renter protections. Unpredictable extra fees are a significant factor in how people get behind, get an eviction, and become unhoused. This needs to stop. Amendments C and D create unjustifiable loopholes. Please oppose them. Charging pet rent is double or triple dipping because renters already paid 2 damage deposits. Insurance should be an opt-in, not a confusing opt-out. You know, every type of business carries liability insurance, including my small business. We work those costs into the price of our goods and services. There's no reason why rental property businesses need to be any different. Lastly, there is no room for hate in Seattle. We love our trans neighbors. Please fund the budget amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Next we have Ben, followed by Samuel, Megan, Steph, Aaron. Welcome, Ben.
Hello, my name is Ben Wong, and I was born, raised in Seattle, and last 20 years been living in Queen Anne, and I came here to ask you to please support the ban on the junk fees. We need the transparency. I've been talking to some people who, it seems, Mr. Kettle, my representative, may have introduced some amendments that put loopholes in, as the previous speaker said, and I'm concerned that that might weaken this whole ordinance. So please pass it, but without any amendments that would weaken it, which I believe were C and D. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Next we have Samuel, followed by Megan. Is Samuel here? Samuel Wolfson. Hey, Sam.
Hi, Council. My name is Sam Wolfson. I am a member of the Seattle Renters Commission, and I'm a renter in District 3. I'm here to urge you to take action against junk fees imposed on renters in our city. These fees allow landlords to advertise artificially low rent prices and hide the actual monthly cost of tenancy. As someone who is actively working on finding a new place to live, the process is already exhausting enough. The fact that I can't even put in my budget and trust that I can actually afford a place without going and digging in and finding all these random fees added to every listing makes the whole process even worse. This bill is good for everybody, landlords too, I think, because it creates mutual understanding of what fees are actually justifiable, like utilities, and what needs to just be included in the rent. It reduces potential conflict between tenants and landlords and improves pricing transparency. Please support this bill, oppose amendments C and D, which weaken it, and support amendments A and E, which strengthen it. Thank you. Also, you should probably just do whatever the opposite the Republicans tell you to do.
Megan? Is it Megan? Is it Megan? Megan. Megan, I'm sorry. Megan, Steph, Aaron, Ruby. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Megan Nelson, representing Seattle Humane and a coalition of animal welfare organizations. We support CB 121254 because unnecessary pet fees create real barriers to housing, and keep families from staying together. At Seattle Humane, about 15% of pets surrendered to us are given up due to housing-related challenges, and other shelters and service providers report even higher rates. Amendment C would undermine that goal by allowing up to $25 per month per pet in pet rent, an arbitrary charge not connected to actual damage or costs. Property owners are already protected through pet damage deposits. For many renters, these added monthly costs can be the difference between keeping a pet and surrendering one. We ask you to support CB 121254 and reject Amendment C.
Thank you, Steph. And Aaron, Steph, come on up. Steph, and then we have Aaron over here, and then.
Thank you, Council. Hi there, I'm Steph Haggerty, a renter in Seattle, and I'm here on behalf of myself and my friends who are teachers, nurses, service workers in Seattle who can't be here today because they're trying to work to pay the bills, pay the rent, pay the junk fees. So please support the junk fees ban and reject Amendments C and D, which weaken it. Just an example, one of my friends is a community mental health therapist, makes very low income, is charged a $250 fee a year just to renew the lease, $60 a month fee to just pay the rent on the landlord's portal, landlord business expense, the list goes on. And the stress of increasing rent and fees, having to move to find an affordable place to live impacts their ability to provide care in the community. Amendment C, as others have spoken about, discriminates against pet owners. $300 a year for lower income folks may mean the difference between paying rent and being housed with their animal companions and service animals. So please keep my friends housed, families together. Renters are increasingly your voters and constituents. Thanks a lot. Please support our trans community too. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph. Aaron, welcome.
Good afternoon, Council President and Council members. Aaron Tulloch, Legislative Aide with FMS Global Strategy, speaking on behalf of the We Build Back Better Alliance. We support CB 121254, Amendments A and E as amendment, and we appreciate Councilmember Foster's leadership. We also value our relationship with Councilmember Kettle. However, we join our coalition partners in opposing Amendments C and D. On pet rent, if a tenant has already paid a security or pet deposit to cover potential damages, an additional $25 a month fee, $300 a year per pet, whether any damages occur or not. For rentals already struggling in Seattle's housing costs, that is significant. Black households are also more likely to rent and experience housing cost burdens, so additional reoccurring fees can deepen existing disparities. On renter insurance, tenants should be able to choose any qualified insurer and policy that meets property owners' reasonable coverage requirements. That protects consumers' choice, competition, and affordability. If the concern is damage, address damage. If the concern is insurance, establish reasonable coverage standards. Neither should become the pathway for unnecessary recurring costs. Protect housing stability, preserve consumer choice, reject C and D. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Next, we have Did I say your name right? Rubai?
It's Rubai.
Rubai. Before you go, Rubai, I'm going to say the next 10 people, so just give me 1 second. We have Michelle. So just all y'all are in the queue. Michelle, Will, Simon, Catherine, Purple 6, Lou, Steve, David Hill, Amanda, and Lee. You all are next. So that's Michelle, Will, Simon, Catherine, Purple 6, Lou, Steve, David Hill, Amanda, Lynn, and Lee. Rubai, you are up. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, council members, for your time today. My name is Rubai Aurora, and I'm here on behalf of Woodland Park Zoo to urge you to adopt the supplemental budget ordinance. I'd first like to thank Councilmember Kettle for your attention to the issue of coyote coexistence in Seattle. We are grateful for your sponsorship with this important work. We also want to thank Committee Chair Strauss and the Finance Committee for members of their support in this supplemental budget as well. This ordinance includes a reasonable one-time funding, $15,000, to cover zoo staff time to develop a coyote coexistence plan for the city. With our mission to save wildlife and inspire conservation, we are well positioned to take the lead on citywide coordinated approach to peaceful coyote coexistence. The plan would be developed by our resident carnivore experts who will review best practices and work with key stakeholders to ultimately create a plan that could be adopted by the city in 2027. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Council President has asked me to read some of the next names. Michelle Kim, please.
Hi, I'm Michelle Kim. I live on North Beacon Hill. I support Eddie Lynn's Proposal A to fund neighborhood coordinators to help suffering people. on the streets in Little Saigon and North Beacon Hill. I am a CNA, and I work with my elders. I am also autistic. Seattle is a place I am thriving. And I know the only reason I am thriving is because of luck. I could easily be one of the people struggling in these areas, but I have had so many serendipitous moments in my life that have led me to figure out how to heal. Eddie Lynn is on the right track. This is the tip of the iceberg. I would love to see Seattle become a healing city. That would be something I would be thrilled to pay taxes for. Thank you.
Thank you. Will Oberse. Will?
Hi, everyone. First off, thanks for all the work you're doing today. This really does feel like the people's house today. Hearing everyone, whether you agree with them or not, it's really important work. So I'm Will Oberst. I'm a grocery store worker and a restaurant worker and a renter in District 3, and as of recently, now a PhD student studying political science with a UN program. So I'm looking forward to working with some of you on that later. But I'm here to support the ban of junk fees. I think that transparency in fees is something that we really need in the city and in life in general. Thank you all again for your work, and have a great day. Cheers.
Thank you. Okay, Simon Thornton. Simon. Yeah, go Simon.
Hello, council members. My name is Simon Thornton. I'm here to ask you to please support Amendment A to the supplemental budget. The North Beacon Hill and North Rainier areas are in desperate need of service coordination. Our communities need relief now, and we are so grateful that council members Lynn and Foster have engaged with our communities and are finding ways to address these issues with the urgency they deserve. A common refrain I've heard during these meetings is that we don't want more meetings, we want actions. This amendment is the action that our community has been begging for, and so I urge the rest of council to please vote yes on Amendment A and grant our neighborhood the relief it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Next, we have Catherine, followed by Purple 6. Welcome, Catherine.
Hi, I'm a member of Beacon Hill. I'm a resident of Beacon Hill, and I thought there was going to be a lot of people talking about this, so I prepared a statement that's just very focused and just a snapshot of the area. I'm a bicycle commuter, and I'm always trying to get all of my community to take the bike whenever they can. And if you're coming from Beacon Hill to go anywhere in the city, you have to go through the North Beacon Hill, Little Saigon area, and it is absolute chaos. And to go through there unarmed by a car around me, and to give just the little snapshot that I prepared for today. Just the other night, I was going through there, and there was a guy who just suddenly picked up a giant pipe from the road and just started swinging it over his head, so that we had to veer way out of the way on our bicycles. And then a police car pulled right in front of me, and then I had to swerve around that because he was dealing with other chaos. The whole area is dangerous, and I'm just a small person going through on my bike. The residents and the business owners deserve our attention from the city and our resources.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Catherine. Next, we have, thank you so much. Next, we have Purple 6, followed by Lou. Welcome, Purple 6. Lou, Steve, David, Amanda, Lee.
Hello, I'm here to talk about the trans refugee crisis. I want to thank the council for doing the barest minimum of effort in addressing this and earmarking $300,000. That is something that should have been done a year ago, but obviously the administration at the time was not amicable to such proceedings. I will say that this is peanut money. This is such a small amount of money for this city. You are spending millions to expand fucking flock cameras. And in that respect, anyone here who votes against such a small amount of money, the peanut money that my community needs, anyone who votes against it is signaling strongly that they are on the side of atrocity. They are on the side of bigotry. They are on the side of the people who are brandishing guns on my community. They are on the side of a villainy that this country should have extinguished a long time ago. So I want you to understand that as public servants, we will hold you accountable.
So next we have Lou, followed by Steve, David, Amanda, and Lee. Welcome.
We've heard some noise of the right-wingers that are against trans refugees, I guess. I guess they're threatened by funding for care for life. for housing because we're fleeing their culture of death. We are giving our community space to breathe. They aren't the ones taking refugees into their homes. They're not giving refugees an actual future. They're not talking people down from the suicide that they've invoked. We are saving people's lives. What do they have to show? What do we have to show if we are intimidated by their noise? The news is scary, but hesitance in this moment is death. And the way to cut through it is action, with our voices resonating together and saying, no, Trump. We choose life. Fund the trans refugees, call on the mayor to declare a state of emergency, and don't have loopholes.
Thank you, Lou. Next, we have Steve, followed by David, Amanda, Lee. Welcome, Steve, David, Amanda, Lee, Steve, David, Amanda, Lee.
I'm next, right?
Steve.
Thank God. Okay.
Got you.
Hi, my name is Steve, and I have lived here in Washington my entire life. I have friends, close family that are queer, trans, etc. And it's very just regular inside my life and inside of their lives as well, but outside of just a couple of states that I can count, it's treated like a much bigger deal, strangely. Folks, young folks getting kicked out of their house, the house they grew up in, getting kicked out of the state that they grew up in, having to restart their life or just start their life at all. Because a lot of them, you know, they face this kind of stuff when they're much younger. Of course, they're coming to a place like this, you know, it seems like it's going to be a good, respectful environment for them. And I imagine that you guys, you know, love this community. That's why you got the jobs, yeah? But they don't have anything right now. All they have is themselves. And they deserve so much more. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we have David, followed by Amanda and Lee. David, Amanda, and Lee. David, Amanda, David Hill. Is David Hill here? Okay, Amanda and Lee. David, Amanda, Lee. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is David Hill. I live in District 4. I'm the treasurer of the Transit Riders Union. TRU strongly supports Council Bill 12-1254, banning rental junk fees as introduced. Housing stability is a critical component of transit justice, and corporate junk fees are a backdoor way for property managers to exploit low housing supply and bypass our city's renter protections. Again, I urge you to pass the bill as written and also to reject Amendment C. This amendment weaponizes the legislative process to protect a corporate cash grab, pet rent. Since 2018, I've paid $4,500 in pet rent for my dog Maggie. That is over $600 a year for a dog that doesn't use building amenities or accrue maintenance costs. That $4,500 I could have spent in our local economy instead of padding my corporate landlord's balance sheets. Reject Amendment C, end penalty discounts for bad actors, pass a strong junk fees ban, and protect our trans neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next, we have Amanda, followed by Lee. Is Amanda here? Followed by Lee. Welcome.
Hi, council members. My name is Amanda Lynn. I'm an organizer for House Our Neighbors. I'm also a renter in Capitol Hill. Landlords insist junk fees have a direct correlation with costs. The last few months, I've listened to comment after comment about their costs. I've also spent years working in affordable housing and community development. I know insurance, maintenance, and operating costs have gone up, but that's not the whole story. The rental housing industry tells a very different story to investors than it tells to its renters. Its own market reports show property income is still growing, and they celebrate the fact that new construction has fallen by nearly 60% because it means even greater pricing power for existing landlords in the years ahead. That's before we even start discussing how much their assets and overall wealth are appreciating. That's far from an industry on the brink, but the working class citizens of this city have been on the brink for years, and too many of us are falling off the cliff. That's why these junk fees matter. Every mandatory fee is $1 more transferred from a working renter's paycheck, not to cover costs, but to grow a landlord's wealth. Junk fees aren't providing anything. Ban them. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Next, we have Lee. Lee? And before you go, Lee, okay, we have about 40 more speakers. So we have the next 10 people up is Morgan, Shanae, Kat, Danny, Lydia, Ian, Olivia, Alya, Daniel, and Gabriel. You are up next. Morgan, Shanae, Kat, Danny, Lydia, Ian, Olivia, Alya, Daniel, and Gabriel. Welcome.
Hello, City Council. My name is Lee. I'm a District 3 voter. I'm here to support the LGBT relief funding. You already heard me speak on the 4th about my experiences with discrimination in the workplace. So this time, I want to mention that right-wing streamers like Ari, who talked trash on us earlier, were allowed to harass trans people during Trans Pride back in July. They were trespassing, SPD was called, and they did not show up. $300,000 is a drop in the bucket compared to the millions you give SPD to ignore us when we are being antagonized and filmed by fascist creeps. Please pass the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Next, we have Morgan, followed by Shanae, and then Kat. Welcome, Morgan.
Thank you. Thank you, council members. My name is Morgan. I'm a resident of District 3 and an organizer with the Mutual Aid Network for Trans and Intersex Individuals in Seattle. I'm here to speak in support of funding for the trans community. The most financially secure trans people that I know are struggling to hold on to their jobs and their houses. And the least financially secure trans people that I know are sleeping in parks and dealing with organized harassment from right-wing streamers. The situation is dire. Our community struggles to support ourselves and to support each other, but it's difficult when there's pervasive discrimination and harassment. We desperately need assistance, and I would appreciate the council's funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Shanae. Welcome. Then Kat. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Shanae. I'm a single mom. I am in District 2. I have lived in my unit since 2014. I've had a pet the entire time. We've gotten a new manager. I've never had a deposit or anything like that. And now that we have a new manager, they're using these fees as a weapon. They are like, you owe $300 for a deposit and $35 for rent, and then that's not fair because you don't give any notice. Then they backdate it. I pay my rent on time. I have to pay a fee because I write a check, which is unfair. I have a fee for them just having to communicate, a $50 fee for them communicating with me, which is unfair. I'm feeling targeted, and I feel that it's not fair that they can use these fees and just throw them in there any time that they want and don't tell you anything on why they're giving them to you. So I would really, really appreciate it if you all could.
Thank you. Next, we have Kat, followed by Danny, Lydia, Ian, Olivia. Go ahead, Kat.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good afternoon, Council President Hollingsworth, council members. I'm Danny Askini. I'm the Executive Director of Gender Justice League here in Seattle, and I'm urging your approval of the $300,000 amendment for the LGBTQ community response to the trans internal displacement. City Council cannot change the anti-trans laws that are sweeping this country. They can't change federal policy, but what you can do is help us support the people that are arriving because of those changes. I provided all of your offices with a white paper that goes really in depth. I'm not going to repeat all of the complexity in those 54 pages. I do want to share a personal story that I've not shared. It's incredibly painful, but I feel like it is illustrative. This week is a very painful anniversary for me. Last year, my husband died by suicide. He died by suicide in large part because he didn't want to displace for a third time. We moved from Seattle to Sweden, Sweden to DC, DC to Virginia. And for him, one more move, because of the fact that we're trans and he didn't feel safe as a federal employee, was one move too many. I had to bury him, and then I flew right back to support people who are arriving. I do that every day. Gender Justice League has seen a 643% increase in survivors. We've served over 1,000 people in the last year, and I just want to share that with you. The stakes are high and very real. It is not hyperbolic. People are dying.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much. Next, we have Lydia. And just hear me out, y'all. If we do spirit hands, we can kind of move through. I know people are supportive, and I don't want to suppress noise, but if we did spirit hands and the snaps, that would help, so I can call the next speaker in between. Did I skip over Kat? Kat, okay, awesome, Kat. Thank you, Danny, for that. Kat, and then Lydia, welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to start actually in the wake of that story by saying let's support our trans community with dignity and with resource. So thank you for that story. Good afternoon, Council. I'm Kat Munson. I'm a new renter in District 4, and I'm also the Community Engagement and Advocacy Manager at Sound Generations, where we support older adults through Meals on Wheels and much, much more. I'm here in strong support of Councilmember Foster's bill to ban rental junk fees. Low-income, older renters we serve live on fixed incomes, so even a seemingly small hidden fee can tip the balance towards housing insecurity. And older adults are often specifically targeted by predatory landlords who capitalize on the fact that they're much less likely to move. My own mom, who lived in a Capitol Hill shag housing complex for like 15 years, fought against her pet rent for her beloved dog and companion, Phoebe, for much of the time that she lived there. So I urge you to pass this bill and reject Amendments C and D and support our trans community.
Thank you, Kat. Next, we have Lydia, followed by Ian, Olivia. Welcome, Lydia, Ian, Olivia.
Hi, I'm Lydia Rubenstein. I'm a renter in District 3, and I'm a tenant educator with the Tenants Union of Washington State. I'm here in strong support to ban rental junk fees and say no to Amendment C and D that would weaken this in any way. These rental junk fees directly threaten our ability as renters to stay housed, especially renters using a voucher, living on fixed incomes, and anyone living in affordable housing complexes. I've seen entire affordable housing buildings struck with sudden cable and internet fees that make it hard to opt out of, and not only that, but reduce their access to the affordable internet that the city offers. I've heard from renters who've had a pet for years face new predatory pet rent, not as a result of any damages on the property, just because a renowned slumlord in Seattle found pet rent to be the best way to squeeze more from the renters. This pet rent resulted in threats of eviction and even more fees and late fees and administrative fee charges for providing notice. Landlords should not be able to hide rent increases by inventing new monthly fees or renaming charges to avoid accountability. Vote yes to ban rental junk fees.
Thank you. Thank you, Lydia. Next, we have Ian, followed by Olivia, Alia, Daniel, Gabriel. Welcome, Ian.
Hello, Council. My name was Ian. I am from Utah. I moved here 4 days ago. I originally moved here in 2003 with my family, and I'm here to talk about the internal trans displacement. Currently, most of my friends are very worried about what Utah is like, about what Texas is like, about what other red states are like, and are in fear for their access to life-saving medications. Seattle is something that we look to a lot as a very important and very critical hope. So by you guys considering the $300,000, I believe that would be very beneficial for people in my community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Welcome to the 206. We are so happy to have you. Is Olivia here? Yes. Awesome. Welcome, Olivia.
Hi, City Council. My name is Olivia, and I'm a worker and renter living in Beacon Hill. I'm here to urge City Council to take action to support the proposed rental junk fees ban and vote no on Amendments C and D today. Specifically, Amendment C undermines renter protections designed to protect renters from price gouging just so landlords can make a profit. A proposed pet rent cap of $25 plus inflation demonstrates that pet rent is arbitrary and only serves to make landlords money. Landlords often say that pets cause damage beyond the pet deposits, but a fee like pet rent isn't even applied to damages. Renters have to pay for any damage their pets cause on top of paying pet rent and pet deposit. Although pet rent is technically a fee and not rent, fees like pet rent raise the total practical monthly cost of rent for working people, making it difficult to find stable and affordable housing. Please pass this ordinance without any weakening amendments, reject Amendment C and D, and protect and support our trans neighbors.
Thank you, Olivia. Next, we have Alia, followed by Daniel, and then Gabriel. Welcome.
Hi, Council. I want to speak as a renter in Capitol Hill, as someone who grew up in Queen Anne, and as a trans woman in this community. So I want to speak in support of the funding for the trans refugee and the local orgs that work so hard to support us as we come here. As a trans woman and as a survivor of assaults, domestic violence, rape, and as somebody who's previously volunteered at DV shelters, I'm appalled by some of the statements we heard today from the Republicans who I guess couldn't be bothered to stick around. But I also know that none of those stories of mine are unique. I don't want to speak to how hard our lives can be or the discrimination that we very actively face everywhere in this country, including in Seattle. What I really do want to speak to is, as a volunteer in Open Arms, the Traction Local 501c3, how hard I see trans refugees working to build their lives here. We are constantly applying for jobs. We are constantly doing everything we can to build our lives here, and this funding would it's support for a crisis. It is not anything like a free handout. Thank you so much for everyone.
Awesome, thank you. Next we have Daniel, followed by Gabriel. Daniel, then Gabriel. Are you Daniel?
Yep.
Awesome, welcome, and then Gabriel.
Thanks.
Yep, welcome.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Daniel Gallagher. I'm a proud resident of District 7. I develop and operate affordable and market rate housing in Seattle, and I'm here to speak on in support of Amendment C and D to CB 121254. Amendment C allows apartment owners to charge a modest fee for pets adjusted for inflation. The pet deposit covers wear and tear in apartment units and ensures pet owners are the ones who pay instead of passing that cost on to other renters who choose not to have a pet. This amendment helps ensure that the cost of owning a pet remains the responsibility of the pet owners. Certainly, this fee should be transparently disclosed at lease signing. No argument there. And adopting this amendment, we believe, is equitable for all renters. Amendment D, likewise, ensures that renters get insurance. Too many times in my buildings, I've seen renters without rent insurance be very financially damaged by accidents, and we think Amendment D helps support renters in the long term. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Next we have Gabriel. Is Gabriel here? Diaz? Gabriel? No? Okay, so we'll go to the next 10 people in person, and then we're going to jump back online. So we have Clive. Is Clive here? Welcome. After Clive, we have Kyle, then Paul. We have Eden, Carl, Hallie, Guinevere, Nina, and then Jeff Paul. And then there's a number 64 here. Tyran is the last name. Peter. I think that looks like Peter. Welcome, Clive.
My name is Clive Hayward. I'm a street performer, and I've performed on the Seattle waterfront since 2015. Seattle Center is knowingly and willfully violating street performers' First Amendment rights. The city already lost this fight in 2009 in Berger versus the City of Seattle. I filed multiple formal claims. My damages continue to accrue. I'm asking council to direct the Seattle Center leadership to train its staff on performers' constitutional rights and to publicly account for claims like mine. Seattle Center is responsible for public safety operations on the waterfront. It is also supposed to support arts and culture. This isn't complicated. Follow the Ninth Circuit's ruling, follow the Constitution.
Thank you, Clive. Next, we have Kyle, followed by Paul. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Kyle McBride, and I live in District 4. And as a teenager who wants to continue to live in the city of Seattle, I have to wake up every day and know that, unlike my parents, I cannot be sure that my future is secure. The exorbitant price of housing that has caused my generation immense struggle, and junk fees are part of this problem. About a quarter of renters in the United States are part of Gen Z, while Gen Z has a higher debt-to-income ratio than the previous generation. Allowing junk fees is just kicking us while we're already down. I urge you to vote for Councilwoman Foster's bill to eliminate junk fees. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Next, we have Paul. Is Paul here? Welcome, Paul.
Hi. So after Trump re-election, in just 7 months, about 1 in every 10 trans people moved states. Rightfully so. In 2025 alone, 109 anti-trans bills were enacted. They threaten their access to healthcare, their job, their safety, their whole existence as trans people. At CPAC, the objective was made explicit. Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life from public life entirely. This is a quote. The Lemkin Institute for Genocide Prevention has raised 3 red flags regarding transgenocide in the US. Still, more than 700,000 trans people still live in states where the legal risk to them is deemed severe or worse. Many of those people need to move for their survival, and many don't have the means. Nobody upend their life just for hands out, like somebody said earlier. We have to acknowledge the situation, we have to do the right things, we have to do more. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next we have, I think it's Peter Tynan? Peter, is it Peter? Is it Peter? Yeah. Okay, awesome, my bad. Peter, and then followed by Peter is Eden, and then Carl.
Hello, City Council. Hello, Councilwoman Rank. It was good meeting you the other day. My name is Peter. I am a resident of Ballard, born and raised, and also a veteran. I want to thank you, Councilwoman Rank, for spearheading this effort that was brought forward by our partners in Mantis for the sake of trans survival. Oh, I got mixed up. That's okay. Okay, I love this city. As we all know, Seattle is a sanctuary city, and I believe that this status morally extends not only to immigrants internationally, but also to immigrants across this whole country who are fleeing violence, such as our trans friends all across the states. LGBTQ volunteer organizations have helped hundreds of trans people and lack the capacity to help hundreds more with acquiring housing and employment in Seattle. By passing this legislation, we can direct aid towards the organizations providing resources to these migrants, seeking safety and giving them a chance for a new beginning. I was extremely proud as an American and as a veteran, and even more so as a Seattleite, to see you reference the new clauses.
Thank you, Peter. No, you're good.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Peter. Eden, or Eden, is it Eden? Eden? Eden Qua? Is Eden here? No? Carl, are you here? Welcome, Carl. Then Hallie Willis.
Members of council, my name is Carl Nelson. I'm a 17-year renter in District 4, a co-chair and founding member of the Cedar Crossing Tenants Association, and a member of the board of directors of the Seattle Social Housing Developer. I'm here today in my capacity as an individual and a small business owner to speak in favor of the legislation banning junk fees with amendments A and E and without amendments C and D. Council, let's be very clear about what being a landlord or housing provider actually is. It is a decision by an individual or individuals to go into business and thereby assume the risks and responsibilities inherent in any business venture. It does not entitle anyone to a certain return on investment, nor does it make them exempt from the rules and expectations of fair behavior we expect in any other industry. Arbitrary, hidden, or specious fees like pet rent are annoying at best and dishonest at worst. All this legislation does is make sure consumers are given the same level of protection that they would expect in any other business. I urge the council to pass this common sense bill with amendments A and E and unamended by C and D without delay.
Thank you, Carl. Next, we have Hallie, followed by Guinevere, Nina, and Jeff. And we'll go online. Welcome, Hallie.
Good afternoon, council members. Hallie Willis with the Seattle King County Coalition on Homelessness and a renter and pet owner in District 5. I'm here today in strong support of the junk fee legislation sponsored by Councilmember Foster and in opposition to amendments C and D. Junk fees, including pet rent, raise costs for renters, often in ways they don't expect and can't afford. That leaves people with few options and fuels our crisis of people being evicted into homelessness. Pet rent is a scam. It should be banned outright. People would freak out if a landlord charged rent to a baby. Why do we allow them to charge rent to a cat or a dog? Please take this afternoon to support renters and support trans people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Guinevere, followed by Nina, and then Jeff. Thank you, Hallie. Guinevere, welcome.
Thank you, Council. I call on you today to pass the ban on junk fees for renters. And also, I believe that even if that ban were passed, it doesn't ban RUBS, which can pass on hundreds of dollars of utility fees from the landlord to the renter. So we need to ban that as well. Again, thank you for the $300,000 amended for the trans refugee crisis. I want you to pass the budget with that in there. But again, that's just a start. And also, I'm aware of the potential for the city to pass that $300,000 and then in the coming months, defund housing by 1 to 5 million so that the trans people who come here will have nowhere to live. So I want to be aware that we're not falling for the city's tricks on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Guinevere. Next, we have Nina, followed by Jeff. And Guinevere, you always have the flyest glasses, by the way, the sunglasses. They're always cool. Nina, then Jeff.
Hi there. I'm Nina, a trans woman living in District 5. I'm here to urge the City Council to pass EB 1253 with Amendment 5 intact. The funds are already there. The committee has recommended its passing, and so many here today have explained the profound effect this funding will have. I have a partner that would not be here were it not for orgs like Traction. Our new sisters, brothers, and all the others can and will thrive if we survive, and this funding gives us a chance to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Next, we have Jeff Paul, and then we're going to jump right online to Cliff Cawthorn. Is Jeff Paul? Pardon me? Jeff is going to email. Oh, email. Okay, sorry. Thank you, Kate. Okay, we'll jump on to online. So we'll go to Cliff, followed by Rachel. *6, unmute yourself. Thank you. *6. We have about 20 more speakers.
There you go. Good afternoon, council members. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, perfect. My name is Cliff Cawthorn. I'm here today as Seattle resident. Some of you know me, my background in housing policy. I'm here in support of Council Bill 121254, so that ban junk fees. I'm also in support of Amendment A and E, in strong opposition to Amendment C and D. So first off, thank you, Councilmember Foster, for leadership on this, and for Mayor Wilson for proposing this. Right now, Seattleites, like people across the country, on the back foot when it comes to affordability. Banning predatory and deceptive junk fees and requiring landlords to be transparent are just a no-brainer. These sort of fees do not contribute to tenants' well-being. They cover no real operations costs. These fees contribute to homeless, displacement, rising housing costs, and put barriers to housing in place for those who are the most vulnerable in our housing ecosystem, trans people fleeing oppressive states. We need to pass this legislation, protect and empower renters, ensure transparency from tenants. Please support this legislation. Please support.
Thank you, Cliff. Next, we have Rachel Raj, followed by Kendra. *6, unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Rachel Raj, and I'm the Executive Director of Seattle Veterinary Outreach, a local nonprofit providing veterinary care and human services for people experiencing homelessness and low-income families. I'm here today on behalf of the clients that we work with. We see firsthand how difficult it is to access housing with a pet. In 2025, 28% of the clients we saw came to us with urgency because they needed veterinary care to meet emergency shelters or housing-related vaccine requirements. So far this year, that number has increased to 38%. When our clients are faced with ongoing pet fees, that makes housing out of their reach. Many will choose to remain unhoused rather than surrender their companion. I urge you to include protections against ongoing pet rental fees. Housing should be accessible, and no one should have to choose between a safe place to live and the pet that they love. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Next, we have Kendra, followed by Kendall. *6.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Ken. I'm a candidate member with the American Party of Labor, and it is imperative that you pass this funding for trans resources, especially seeing how this Council and the Mayor have chosen time and time again to ignore the trans community in the past. As a reminder, Council, it is your duty to protect and provide for these communities through programs, through funding, and through actual human decency, not just apologies and sympathies from behind a microphone. The American Party of Labor will continue to ensure the trans community are able to defend themselves against those who wish to harm and erase them, against Nazis, and against SPD who protect these Nazis and have themselves directly terrorized the trans community, as we saw last May. Any further class treachery and outright apathy from this council and this city against these communities will only strengthen APL's resolve to guarantee community autonomy by and through any means necessary. If you are a member of a marginalized community, trans or otherwise, look to harm and protect yourself, contact the American Party of Labor. And in the words of the dead Kennedys, lynch your landlord. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Next, we have Paul, followed by Adrian. Paul?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Paul Steves, and I'm a renter in District 3, speaking in support for the junk fee legislation. This issue directly affects me as I've always refused to pay these junk fees. As a result, these slumlords and credit reporting companies are falsely portraying this refusal as rental arrears. I urge the Council members to listen to your constituents and not the slumlords who largely live outside of the city. Shame on Councilmember Kettle for proposing amendments that weaken this badly needed piece of legislation. If not for their continual malfeasance, this new legislation would be unnecessary. It is my understanding that pet rent is already illegal under SMC 72438, Section E. Slumlords have been blatantly disregarding the law for far too long. This is why strong enforcement mechanisms are needed. Junk fees are fraudulent and need to be prosecuted as such. I strongly encourage Council members to pass this legislation without any weakening amendments. Also support the
Thank you. Next, we have Andrew, followed by Lydia, and then Cedar. Star 6.
So good afternoon, Council members. My name is Angelina Skirdo. I'm a human rights activist from Pierce County District 2. So from this morning's Seattle City Council Public Safety Committee meeting on the topic of King County Jail medical deferral data, mentioning by Ian Goodhue of the same exam, aka sexual assault nurse examination, and the delays that can occur included in between the time of initiation of nurse consultation, of the usual vitals to the certified licensed nurse trained and a specific legal task associated with the steps to do a same exam. I formally request this day of August 11, 2026, for our same exam laws to allow an extension for at least 7 days instead of 5 days, for DNA can still be detected via swabbing, which is the main part of the exam. Plus, I support making rent affordable, including removing pet rent. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lydia, followed by Cedar, and then Heather.
Hi, my name is Lydia Salty. I'm a renter in D3 as well as a co-chair of the Seattle Renters Commission. The Renters Commission supports banning junk fees to reduce hidden and unnecessary housing costs. As renter advocates and renters ourselves, we are no stranger to the intimate impacts of junk fees on housing stability. This legislation is about transparency and predictability, and it's about upholding the renter protections that are designed to protect renters from price gouging, prevent landlords from setting fair. It does not prevent landlords from setting fair market rents or charging for truly opt-in services. As such, the Commission supports Amendments A and E, which strengthen this legislation, and we oppose Amendments C and D, which create loopholes that would allow landlords to continue charging these unnecessary rental fees. This comprehensive ban is critical to ensuring renters have accurate information about housing, that honest landlords can compete in a fair market, and that new protections are enforceable. We urge you to pass this ban on rental junk fees with the strengthening amendments A and E and to reject.
Awesome. Thank you, Lydia. Next, we have 8 more speakers online. This is just a time check. We have 8 more speakers online, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more in person. I don't know if there's any signed up over there. Okay, so 8 online and then 5 more in person. So Cedar, you are, well, star 6. You're up.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hi, my name is Peter, and I am here to speak on the coming shortages that we are facing as a country. In the midst of our food financial crisis and our water crisis due to surveillance centers and storing the water for the elites in this country, we are also taking steps to expand our police surveillance state by putting up more Flock and Axon and ALPR cameras that are further infringing upon our Fourth Amendment rights. We can't ever really seem to find the money for social programs, but we can always seem to find more money to pay the police, who constantly beat our civilians, and many departments, including Bellevue's, is actually under investigation for child sex trafficking. So we should fund the police a lot less, and we should actually put more money into the farm.
Thank you. Next, we have Heather, followed by Magdalena.
Hi, Council President and Council members. I'm Heather Smith from Capitol Hill's Pike Pine neighborhood. I'm speaking in support of Council Bill 121253 and directing funding for community-based violence interrupters to Capitol Hill. Just last night, another person was shot at Cal Anderson Park. That brings the number of shootings we have documented in the greater Pike Pine to 26 in just 3 years, all within a very small geographic area. Our Pike Pine community and our nightlife district in Cal Anderson Park need a coordinated, sustained public safety strategy with consistent resources, clear responsibility, and accountability. The Seattle Fire Department and Seattle Police Department should not be the only responders to issues around the clock. Pike Pine is also an important economic driver for Seattle. Violence interrupters can help identify escalating conflicts, build relationships with people at the highest risk of violence, intervene before.
Thank you, Heather. Next, we have Magdalena, followed by Aaron and Elizabeth.
Am I unmuted?
We can hear you.
Wonderful. Hello, Council. You are legislating right now for the age, not the hour. The hour is the empire around us that is falling. But the age that is coming is one in which the city will still exist. In that time, they will look to the precedents that you established during this time of transition, whether you acknowledge that transition coming or not. It has happened to all empires. It will happen to ours. What legacy will you leave? When trans people were priestesses of the temples of Inanna, Europeans were still living in mud huts and figuring out how to make bronze. We are the Arines of the Scythians. We are the Galli of the Romans. We have literally always existed, and we will always exist. And we will resist these fascists. And you have to live with us after. You have to live with the results. Will you live with a city that you have brought to life by saving ours and the culture that we bring to create? Have you all?
Thank you, Magdalena. Next, we have Elizabeth, followed by Philip, Haley, and Matthew. And we'll go back to in person. Elizabeth, welcome. *6 to unmute yourself. *6. You're still on mute. *6. There you go.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. This is Elizabeth Marcus, and I am a resident of the Green Lake neighborhood. And I have been a landlord in the past, and I strongly oppose junk fees. I take that as a responsibility to keep people housed and not as something to make a profit off of at the expense of the people who need housing. I also strongly support the funding for the trans community, and I would love to say that I oppose Amendment C and D. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Next, we have Philip, followed by Haley, and then Matthew, and then we'll go to our in-person. Hi, Philip. You might be muted on your phone, Philip, but you are off mute for us.
Hi, I apologize. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. My name is Philip Ross. I am a small landlord in the Ravenna neighborhood. I would also like to speak out in opposition to junk fees. As a property owner, I find myself lucky enough to help those who do not own property stay in the neighborhood at affordable rates and contribute to the culture and diversity of my neighborhood and the city in general. I find junk fees an exorbitant charges to be despicable, and I appreciate everything you're doing to combat them. I would also note that any amendments diluting the strength of that bill are not wanted. The developers who are in favor of this, and I work for a developer separately, are charging simply for their own profits, and
You still have time, Philip.
I apologize, I thought it muted me. Yes, I just oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Next, we have Haley, followed by Matthew, and then we'll go to in person.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Haley, and my company is a small property owner and manager here in Seattle. I'm speaking today in support of Amendment C. Over the years, we've invested in tailoring our buildings to the needs of dog owners, installing dog runs, creating relief areas, and adding wash stations so muddy paws don't end up on the carpet, and consistently cleaning up our dogs who have accidents in the elevators and lobbies. These improvements cost money to create and to maintain, and they benefit all of the tenants who have dogs and the whole building. Pet rent is how those tenants pay their fair share for what they're actually using. Without it, I'd have to fold those costs into rent for everyone, including tenants who don't own a pet, and never touch these dog amenities or require these cleaning services. That's not fair. It's not equitable. A small capped monthly amount tied directly to the amenity is a fair way to do it. Otherwise, we'll have to raise rent 1.5% across the board. Please support Amendment C. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Haley. Next, we have Matthew, and then we'll go right to our in-person speakers. Matthew, *6.
Hi there. I'm calling in opposition to the funding for trans refugees. I just don't fully understand the term refugee, and I think it's disparaging to true refugees from other countries that need support, need funding. I don't know why Seattle taxpayers are, footing the bill for people to move within the same country. And I guess to what end, I don't really understand where this funding will be allocated to and how $300,000 really would be supportive if it really is a crisis as it is being played out as. So I don't really understand or support this very small amount of funding to help a very small number of people move within the country.
Thank you, Matthew. So we're going to go to in person. We have Lydia, followed by M, and we have David Haynes, we have Kyle, and we have Ellen. Lydia, welcome. Thank you all for your patience.
Lydia O'Taylor? Okay.
Yes.
Hello, I am here to testify in favor of CB 121254 and banning pet rent, aka Anti-Amendment C of this bill, and banning junk fees, including Amendment D, charging renters renter insurance on an opt-out basis because I believe that obfuscates the landlord's responsibility to the tenants. There's much I could copy-paste from the Seattle.gov office of the city clerk, Legistar.com page's recitals section, but that's 20 minutes I don't have with this microphone, and I'm sure the counselors have seen that document. I would encourage everyone who hasn't to read it. It's incredibly insightful. What I will say is that as a young progressive voter, this legislation is exactly the reason that we voted for the likes of Mayor Wilson and bill sponsor Dion Foster to do for us, because Councilor Foster identified unaffordability as a reason for gentrification of POC and queer communities in her campaign for office. And this bill is simply living up to that campaign promise to fight against that in City Hall for us.
Thank you, Lydia. Next, we have M. Is M here? I think M left. M. Okay, next we have David Haynes. Welcome. And then we have Kyle and then Ellen. Welcome, Mr. Haynes.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Dreaming revolution, living a nightmare. Hi, my name's David Haynes. When you exempt drug pushers from misdemeanor prosecution, you allow for the escalation of violence between rival drug gangs. When you finance nonprofits in the Human Services Department to run an interference for BIPOC repeat offending criminals, you escalate the implosion of our society and undermine the integrity of public safety. The thing is, I came down here today because we need some legislation to purge the landlords sabotaging restrictions on the comprehensive plan so we can have a better built back city of 21st century first world quality housing that goes higher than 6 stories for your catering to like watered down design for nonprofits that are politically connected to warehouse echo third world modern inner city real estate. The thing is like, you should be allowed to get your money back within 24 hours. If you call the landlord and say, I'm moving out within 30 days because this place is double, triple, quadruple inflated. And you should be allowed to renegotiate the property value based on 2016 when John Wilson took over and started
Thank you, David.
inflating on the property value so that renters can have
Thank you, Mr. Haynes.
and have the banks write off some of the debt for the rent.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. Next, we have Kyle, followed by Ellen. Is Kyle here? No, Kyle, Kite, and then Ellen O'Leary. Is Ellen O'Leary here? Number 75? No? Okay. And there's no more speakers over there, and there's nothing online, so I just want to first thank you all. I know that was a long public comment period, but it was very important for us to hear people's words. I do want to state for the record, and I've told Mr. Haynes this, he always talks about BIPOC drug pushers or black drug pushers. So just for the record, I had asked him, it's not actually nice to say all the time. But anyways, it's another thing. So just want to thank everyone for being here, okay? And for doing public comment, the people that came down in person, that stood in line, the folks that waited online for 2 hours to speak. It's really important that we heard everyone. Usually public comment period, we always have scheduled for an hour, but it was really important that we listen to everyone. So we just want to thank you all. I'm going to check with my colleagues to see if they wanted to take a recess or if you all wanted to power through. The recess would be 5 minutes. I'm looking left and right, up, down. Are people just power through? Are we good? Okay, so I see people saying press forward with their sword. Okay, let's just jump right into the meeting. If there's no objection, so we're going to jump right into the meeting. If there's no objection, the introduction and referral calendar will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the introduction and referral calendar is adopted. If there is no objection, the agenda will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the agenda is adopted. We will now consider the proposed consent calendar. The items on the consent calendar include minutes of August 4th, 2026, Council Bill 121271, payment of the bills, 2 bills and 1 resolution from Parks and City Light Committee. There are 5 appointments from the Finance, Native Communities, and Tribal Governments Committee, and there are 7 appointments from the Transportation, Waterfront, and Seattle Center Committee. Are there any items council members would like to remove from today's consent calendar? Hearing and seeing none, I'm going to move to adopt the consent calendar. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the consent calendar. Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the consent calendar?
Councilmember Foster?
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Foster? Thank you. Councilmember Juarez?
Aye.
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Lipp?
Yes.
Councilmember Rink?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera?
Aye.
Councilmember Saka?
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss?
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth?
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Consent calendar is adopted. Will the clerk please affix my signature in the minutes on the legislation on the consent calendar on my behalf? That was a tongue twister. Will the clerk please read item number 1 to the record?
The report of the Housing, Arts, and Civil Rights Committee, Agenda Item 1, Council Bill 121254, relating to rental agreements regulation, required disclosure of fees, prohibiting and limiting certain fees, requiring retention of compliance records, expanding investigation authority, and establishing new enforcement mechanisms. The committee recommends the bill pass as amended.
Councilmember Foster, as chair of the committee, you are recognized to give the report.
Thank you so I cut my mic. Thank you so much, Council President. And first, I want to express my appreciation to Mayor Wilson and her team, especially Karen Levitas, who has spent a lot of time with our office and a lot of time leading on this work. I want to also express my appreciation to HB Harper from Council Central staff and Sage Lawrence from my team for their leadership. Thank you to the many community members, to the Stay Housed, Stay Healthy Coalition, to the folks at Seattle Humane, Washington Housing Alliance, the small and large landlords and housing providers, all of whom have taken the time to come down and share their experience and testify at City Hall. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of energy, and we appreciate each of you. As chair of the Housing, Arts, and Civil Rights Committee, I am thrilled to sponsor this legislation. And lastly, I want to appreciate my colleagues for voting this out of committee with a 5-0 vote. So, As we've heard today, hidden fees don't belong on concert tickets, they don't belong on airline tickets, and they certainly don't belong on the largest expense that most Seattle families have every month, their rent. Rent is one of the most important consumer purchases that people make. And if we believe in consumer protection anywhere, we should believe in it here. And it should also be one of the most transparent decisions for people. In a majority renter city where housing already stretches household budgets, families deserve to know the real cost of a rental before they sign a lease, before they show up and sit down to put their name on a paper, not after. And I myself am a homeowner, but I still remember the experience of finding an apartment, touring a building, deciding I wanted to live there, sitting down to sign a lease, only to realize we were quite literally signing up for more than we had originally bargained for, because the fees and costs that we hadn't anticipated that we then realized we were going to need to pay. That shouldn't be an experience that anybody has. Research from the Urban Institute shows that junk fees can increase renters' total housing costs by 10 to 30%, making it harder for people to budget and harder for people to stay housed. Those added costs hit hardest for seniors on fixed incomes, for young people entering the workforce, working families, and communities that are most likely to rent. As we heard earlier today, in Washington, Black residents are about twice as likely to rent than own, meaning these practices can disproportionately burden households already facing barriers to housing stability. And I believe, and we know, that transparency creates a better housing market. This legislation gives renters the ability to compare homes priced on their actual cost, not on an artificially low advertised price, followed by a list of surprise charges. It also creates a level playing field for landlords who are already transparent about pricing, instead of rewarding those who rely on hidden fees to make their listings appear more affordable than they actually are. And by reducing upfront necessary costs, we make it easier for renters to find housing without paying hundreds of dollars just to apply. I know that consumer protections only work if they are enforceable, and this bill gives SDCI the teeth to ensure that they are enforcing the law and holding people who disregard the law accountable. We love a snap. And lastly, I'll just share a few of the important things that this bill does, because so much of the testimony today was focused on the amendments. We are prohibiting charging a fee for paying your rent via check or ACH transfer, so that you don't have to pay just to pay. We are prohibiting mail and package fees so renters aren't price gouged for receiving orders. We are prohibiting additional fees for the use of in-unit appliances, with exceptions for where state law allows air conditioning units. We are prohibiting fees for pet rent because we know that we are still allowing folks to charge for damage deposits and to recover costs of any actual damage occurred to a unit. We are also requiring the disclosure of rental fees in advertisements and rental listings up front on any rental agreement. That will allow renters to be able to compare and contrast and make informed decisions about where they live. And lastly, this bill does allow for charging optional fees, provided they are not explicitly prohibited and are truly opt-in fees, and they align with the rest of the spirit of the ordinance. So thank you so much to everybody who has supported this. I believe that this bill is going to result in greater transparency and greater affordability for Seattle renters. And colleagues, I ask for your support.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. So colleagues, I think we have 5 amendments. So we're going to work through those, and then we'll have time to speak about the whole bill after it's been amended, okay? Or potentially if it is amended. So I'm going to jump to Councilmember Lynn. Pardon me? We're at ease. 1 second. So I'll recognize Council Member, thank you for that reminder. I'll recognize Councilmember Rivera, and then we'll jump to Councilmember Lynn about your amendment. Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, because I own a small rental property that I share with my family, I'm unfortunately precluded from voting on today's rental fees legislation. I'm also precluded from even speaking to the legislation. I want constituents who are watching to know that it's not that I do not want to represent their interests on this matter or their views. I'm just unable to. Colleagues, as you know, this is an issue that continues to come up, especially after council went to district representation. And it is different from the position that has been taken by the state, where the state legislature is required to disclose any conflicts of interest, but they're not actually prohibited from voting. Well, I understand why we cannot vote or why I cannot vote, and I will always abide by ethics rules. It is a point of concern because I, like you, have received feedback from residents on this legislation, and I do not want constituents to think that I did not want to vote on this legislation. Thank you, Council President.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Rivera, for that. Councilmember Lynn, you are recognized to move your amendment.
Thank you. I'd like to move Amendment A, Version 1, to Council Bill 121254.
Second.
Awesome. It's been moved and second to amend Council Bill as presented on Amendment A. Councilmember Lynn, as sponsor of the amendment, you are recognized in order to address it.
Thank you so much. And first, thank you, Councilmember Foster, for bringing this legislation forward. Thanks to everyone that came to speak today. This amendment is, I brought an amendment to the original bill, and in terms of enforcement, there's two primary ways that this bill will be enforced. There's SDCI enforcement, and then there's the private right of action. And, in the private right of action, while it is great that we have attorney's fees and other penalties, it still requires tenants to go to court, which could be a lengthy process. Or, often requires tenants to go seek legal representation. And so a main thrust of the original amendment was to empower tenants to make a demand to their landlord to, if they were charged these fees that were prohibited, and to request immediate refunds plus double damages, and to incentivize landlords to cure any violations. And if they did so within 30 days, then they would not be subject to the penalties and attorney's fees. And so the idea was that it would empower tenants and incentivize landlords to quickly correct any issues so that tenants wouldn't have to go to court, landlords wouldn't have to pay attorney's fees, and tenants would be reimbursed quickly. After committee meeting, we spoke with some tenant advocates and received feedback that if that fee was charged to one tenant, it was probably charged to all the other tenants. And so when a notice was given to landlord, it should be deemed constructive notice for all the tenants in that building. And with the idea that if the landlords put on notice, if they were going to take advantage of this sort of alternative dispute process, they should be refunding those fees to all the tenants in that building, and also be giving notice to SDCI so SDCI can keep track of any violations and any cures. So that's the amendment. We also included a provision that if the landlord charged that same fee within 24 months, they wouldn't be able to take advantage of this additional sort of ADR process, alternative dispute process. So that's the amendment, and I would love if you have any questions or concerns. Otherwise, I would love your support. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Councilmember Lynn. Are there any comments regarding Amendment A? Seeing none. Do you have any closing remarks, Councilmember Lynn?
No.
Closing testimony? Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of Amendment A?
Councilmember Foster?
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez? Aye. Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn?
Yes.
Councilmember Rink?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera?
Present.
It-
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Saka?
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss?
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth?
Yes.
It's 8 in favor, none opposed, 1 abstention.
Motion carries. Amendment A is adopted. Councilmember Kettle, you are recognized to move your Amendment B.
Thank you, Council President. I move Amendment B, Version 1 to Council Bill 121254.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the bill as presented on Amendment B. Councilmember Kettle, you're recognized in order to address it.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, Councilmember Foster and my colleagues. This amendment is being done for a few things. One is Not long ago, when we were doing the education levy implementation, my colleague was saying it was important how you talk about things. And I agreed with her as it related to that bill and all bills, actually. And then later, with SEPA and EIS, we talked about weaponization. And I spoke to that issue as well. And I talked about the language that we use. And it was interesting to see online and other places how I was being mocked for that. But the idea is to raise the discourse, to have an engagement on the topics that we're facing. And the term junk fee is not a formal legal fee. Industry standard is a colloquial phrase. It is not legal, and this is a legal document. And we should be looking to place ourselves in a position where we are engaging on the topics. And I recognize from all the different comments, and I understand 100%. At the same time, I do recognize, too, that for those that are advocating on the other side, who are not often heard here in chambers, that if you're a landlord and you're dealing with issues with pets, that if you're looking for this, the word junk is pejorative. And it's like they're doing it for some reason other than what may be. And that's not the case. Sometimes it is, but not always. And I just think that we as a body should be looking to use terms that are reflective of our position and what we're doing here with legal documents, legal formality that we're doing, that we don't use a colloquial term like junk feeds. And then, and building on the idea of weaponizations from the SEPA and EIS bill, or the idea that it's important how you talk about things as we were going through the education levy implementation, that we raise the discourse here. And colleagues, this is the reason for this amendment solely. And I think the word junk is not needed, and it's also a word that, is not at that level that we should be doing here in terms of this legal proceeding that we're embarked on. So thank you, and I ask for your support.
Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Are there comments on Amendment B as presented? Any comments, colleagues? Seeing none, okay. Councilmember Kettle, do you have any closing remarks?
None other than to ask for the support, and again, understanding where this is coming from and how we can move forward. So
Understood. Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of Amendment B?
Councilmember Foster?
No.
Councilmember Juarez?
No.
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn?
Yes.
Councilmember Rink?
No.
Councilmember Rivera?
Present.
Councilmember Saka?
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss?
No.
Council President Hollingsworth?
No.
That is 3 in favor, 5 opposed, and 1 disqualified.
So the motion fails, and Amendment B is not adopted. Councilmember Kettle, you are recognized to move Amendment C.
I'm just taking a moment. Council President, I move Amendment C, Version 1 to Council Bill 121254.
Second, it's been moved and second to amend the bill as presented on Amendment C. Councilmember Kettle, you're recognized in order to address it.
Council member, I'm requesting that the rules be suspended to consider an oral amendment.
Rules are suspended for an oral amendment. Oh, excuse me. I need a second. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and second for the rules to be suspended for an oral amendment. Excuse me. Councilmember Kettle, you are recognized.
Council President, I move to amend Amendment C Version 1 by deleting.
Wait, I apologize. I got to go back. My bad. I have to take it to a vote. Okay, so will the clerk please call the roll on the rules being suspended for an oral amendment?
Councilmember Foster?
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn?
Yes.
Councilmember Rink?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera,
Present.
Councilmember Saka, Councilmember Strauss,
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth.
Yes.
8 in favor, none opposed, 1 disqualified.
All right, rules have been suspended. Councilmember Kettle, you are recognized.
Again, Council President, I move to amend Amendment C by deleting a cat or, those 3 words from Section 11A.
So I'm going to pause here and be at ease because I believe that we would need to put this up. Do people need to have this up? No?
It's up to the chair. If
Do
you
people
want it in
want,
writing.
do people want this amendment up? Okay, fair enough. All right. So the amendment, you all have the amendment in front of you. I just wanted to do it transparency for the public, but that's fine. So go ahead and repeat that again, Councilmember Kettle. My apologies.
I move to amend Amendment C by deleting a cat or, those 3 words, from Section 11A.
Is there a second? Thank you. Is there a second? I will second it. It's been moved and seconded for us to remove, to do an oral amendment, for us to remove from line A in the amendment to remove a cat or. So a cat or on Amendment C. It's been moved and second. Councilmember Kettle, you are recognized to address it.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to say I've been a renter. I was a renter until age 47. I was also a landlord for a decade and a half, from about the age of 35 to 50. And in that time, gained a lot of experience working a lot of issues as it relates to landlord-tenant that we're dealing with here today, and should be also dealing with in other areas as well. And I recognize the points that were made oftentimes here in terms of general with pets. I should note I have 2 dogs, 2 little Cairn Terriers. And I also understand from my experience and also the advocacy that I've received, again, not here in council, but from people like Betsy Hudson, who gave a really detailed experience in terms of working the issue of pets. I understand the pet deposit argument. It makes sense, but that doesn't capture the one challenge that we have with this bill. We have such a wide range of renters and rental agreements, and in terms of the types of whether it's a massive building, whether it's a small single-family home, could be many types. So I do understand the pet deposit argument, but I also know that damage not seen happen or attributable to any one specific dog, it has an impact on the owners, and it is a cost. And one should know, this is America, that real estate, this is a business, and these costs will be passed through. And I just think that in this situation, in the idea that this is a common sense fix, very small amount, and that otherwise this will be borne by all tenants, and that in itself creates its own affordability challenges. And so I present this amendment in terms of being simple and clean, but also highlighting the challenges that are seen out there. And those costs will be passed on. I've talked to so many different types of landlords or developers that work these kinds of even affordable housing, and they talk about the challenges that they face. And so with that, that's the reasoning behind Amendment C, and I ask for your support.
Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Councilmember Strauss.
Thank you, Council President. I'm just checking that we are first going to vote on amending the amendment, and then we will vote on the amendment as amended. Is that correct?
That is correct. So right now we are voting on the amendment to the amendment, which is the oral amendment that right now it is the fee may only be assessed for keeping a cat or dog. Councilmember Kettle's amendment is to remove a cat or. So right now we will be voting on to remove a cat or. So the new amendment will say the fee may be assessed for keeping a dog.
Thank you. I really appreciate this change. I think that it makes good sense, and I'll use this moment to also recognize the fact that tomorrow is Kitty Hall here at Seattle City Hall, where you can adopt a cat from our FAS animal shelter, as well as if you don't want to adopt here a cat, we also have dogs. They are at the animal shelter. Adoptions are available all week long. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. So just to clarify, team, council, we are voting on the amendment to the amendment. So we are voting on to remove a cat or. Councilmember Foster.
Thank you, Council President. I'm just, I think, are you asking for our comments on the amended amendment now, or are you asking for us to hold those
This
until
is
later?
on the comments on the amendment to the amendment.
Okay. Thank you. I will be brief in my comments on the amended amendment. Councilmember Kettle, I appreciate your the verbal amendment that you're making today. I do intend to support the verbal amendment that you were making, but I do not intend to support the original amendment, and I will save my comments for the original amendment when we go to that.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. Are there any other comments to the amendment to the amendment? This is to remove a cat or, and this is an oral amendment. We suspended the rules. Okay, awesome. Councilmember Kettle, do you have any closing?
None.
Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll on us voting on the amendment to the amendment, which is removing a cat or?
Councilmember Foster?
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez? Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn?
Yes.
Councilmember Rink?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera?
Present.
Councilmember Slaka?
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss?
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth?
Yes.
8 in favor, none opposed, 1 disqualified.
So the motion carries and the amendment to the amendment is adopted. And now we are going to now talk about Amendment C. So Councilmember Kettle, do you?
Nothing further.
Okay. Are there any other colleagues that have any comments about Amendment C? Councilmember Foster.
Thank you so much, Council President. First, I want to express my appreciation to you, Councilmember Kettle. I know you don't sit on the Housing Committee, but I do want to appreciate you and your office for being responsive and communicative around the ideas that you had around the underlying legislation, and just thank you for your transparency and collaboration there. And again, for the dialing in committee today. For me, one of the important parts of this conversation is that we are still allowing the ability for landlords to use damage deposits as well as to recoup any fees to units for damage incurred by a pet. And so for that reason, I will not be supporting this updated amendment today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. Are there any other comments regarding Amendment C as amended? Councilmember Lynn.
Thank you, Council President, and Councilmember Kettle. Thanks for bringing this forward. And for the amendment, the amendment to the amendment. I do, I read, some of the feedback we received, including Betsy Hudson's, and I do think there are real costs that landlords face that are not always captured by the damage deposits. And so I do think that those costs will be sort of spread out. I don't know, what is hard to know is how much those costs really are. But I think we've also heard from a lot of tenant advocates that, that even if those costs are spread out, that is something that is better than pet rent itself. And so, and I think about, I have not been a renter for a bit now, but, I do think pet rent is something that is relatively new. And, somehow landlords were able to get by for many, many years without charging pet rent or frankly, all these other fees that we are hopefully banning today. And so I just want to say I appreciate the concern and the intent behind it, but I won't be supporting it today.
Thank you, Councilmember Lynn. Are there any other comments regarding Amendment C as amended? We are voting on the underlining Amendment C as amended to the council bill. Councilmember Kettle, do you have any follow-up?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll on Amendment C as amended?
Councilmember Foster,
No.
Councilmember Juarez,
No.
Councilmember Kettle,
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn,
No.
Councilmember Rink,
No.
Councilmember Rivera,
Present.
Councilmember Saka, Councilmember Strauss,
Nay.
Council President Hollingsworth.
No.
1 in favor, 7 opposed, 1 disqualified.
Motion fails and Amendment C is not adopted. Councilmember Kettle, you are recognized to move Amendment D.
Council President, I move to move Amendment D, Version 1 to Council Bill 121254.
Second, it's been moved and second to amend the bill as presented on Amendment D. Councilmember Kettle, you're recognized in order to address it.
Council President, a big challenge that we have in our country is financial literacy. This has come up many ways. It came up in an interview I had on KOW not long ago. Our state treasurer has been speaking to the idea of financial literacy, particularly in the curriculum at our schools. And financial literacy has many pieces to it. You know, there's savings, there's investments, but it's also insurance. And being smart and having that financial literacy, you know, the insurance piece is really important. And so this amendment is forwarded as not only good governance, but good practice. And I recognize the points, but if one reads mentioned in public comment, but if you read the amendment, it's quite straightforward that this is something that there's no requirement, but it's encouraging this because this is in the good tenets of financial literacy. So long term, and I think about, by the way, that this shows up in many ways. Christchurch, New Zealand, had a very strong insurance rate. So when they had their earthquake, they were able to respond quickly and better compared to other cities across the world and over time. And you know, we are a situation where we could have something similar to that. You know, I'm not expecting wildfires, but you never know. Insurance is a smart financial literacy move. And this is something that, again, is not mandating it. It's very straightforward. It's very simple. And colleagues, I ask for your support.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Are there any comments regarding Amendment D? Amendment D. All right, seeing none, want to definitely take this time to thank Councilmember Kettle for all your amendments and hardworking thought you put behind all this. Will the clerk please call the roll? Oh, do you have any? You said no closing comments. Will the clerk please call the roll on Amendment D?
Councilmember Foster,
No.
Councilmember Juarez, Councilmember Juarez.
No.
Thank you. Councilmember Kettle,
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn,
No.
Councilmember Rink,
No.
Councilmember Rivera,
Present.
Councilmember Saka,
Nay.
Councilmember Strauss,
No.
Council President Hollingsworth.
No.
1 in favor, 7 opposed, 1 disqualified.
Motion fails. Amendment D is not adopted. Councilmember Foster, you are recognized to move your amendment.
I move Amendment E. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second to amend bill as presented on Amendment E. Councilmember Foster, you're recognized in order to address it.
Thank you so much, Council President. So this is a clarification and an update to an amendment that I brought to committee. The spirit of this is that we wanted to ensure clarity that SDCI has the authority to seek voluntary compliance. That's authority that was already provided to them elsewhere in our code. However, we codified that, bringing it into this portion of the code, and we did that in an amendment in committee. We had some ongoing engagement with community members following passing this out of committee last week, and I am bringing forth this amendment to offer a couple of clarifications and refinements. So you'll see this language states that the SDCI director can offer voluntary compliance at a minimum to include full reimbursement to all tenants. This is similar to what we heard Councilmember Lynn speak to ensure that we are covering remedies for tenants when something is done to one tenant. If the same practice has happened across the board, that the SDCI director can seek that voluntary compliance compliance across the board. We are also making a refinement. I am making a refinement here that states that voluntary compliance can only be offered to a landlord if the director has executed voluntary compliance no more than twice in the past 3 years. So this is the spirit of the law is to ensure that we have the ability to get voluntary compliance. However, the spirit is not intended to see repeat voluntary compliance because that's going to indicate something else going on. So we are offering this amendment to clarify and provide that direction to SDCI. And colleagues, I ask for your support.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. Councilmember Foster, are there any comments regarding Amendment E? Seeing none, do you have any closing comments, Councilmember Foster? Will the clerk please call the roll on Amendment E?
Councilmember Foster,
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez, Councilmember Kettle,
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn,
Yes.
Councilmember Rink,
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera,
Present.
Councilmember Saka,
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss,
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth.
Yes.
8 in favor, none opposed, 1 disqualified.
Awesome. The motion carries. Amendment E is adopted. All right, colleagues, are there any other final comments on the bill as amended? Councilmember Foster, as sponsor, will hold yours till the end, if that's cool, and then we'll see if any other council members have any comments, and then I'll throw it to Councilmember Foster. Councilmember Kettle.
Thank you, Council President. I do have a few comments. I'm just going to add actually a little bit up front because I forgot to mention this, so I'll mention it now. In my hand, I have the Central Staff Memo on this bill, Council Bill 121254, written by Ms. Harper, Analyst and Central Staff, and I thank her for this document. It's interesting. If you read this document, nowhere in this document do you find the word junk. I would argue that this document is being held to a higher standard than the bill itself as it respects to the use of the word junk. And again, it's important how you talk about things. It's important to have a formal legal industry standard, not colloquial phrases. I had 3 amendments here, but I also had 2 others. I had 5 total amendments. The other 2 amendments, my team worked with Councilmember Foster and Councilmember Lynn's team. I want to thank them and their teams for working with my team on those amendments. There was no co-sponsorship on those, but again, I appreciate having my team have the opportunity to work with Councilmember Foster's team and Councilmember Lynn's team. Rental fee, landlord rent, tenant is very complex. And I've been speaking about affordability a lot, particularly as it relates to property taxes, sales taxes, utility rates, and what we do or do not do ourselves, the county and the state. But I've also noted that affordability is not just for residents, also for businesses too. And we do have, we need to be mindful of that. We do have a wide range of landlords, and we need to ensure that we make housing available and affordable, and that is our North Star. And my concern is with those small-scale landlords, sometimes called mom and pop and the like, because they're the ones who really provide those affordable housing options. And I've seen it so often here in Seattle and in District 7. I just wanted to note that. And I also wanted to note, too, that there's more work to be done. 2 years ago, I had the Housing Development Consortium in my office, and they were adamant that we have to get 4 bills done related to landlord-tenant, because the affordable housing world is, they're landlords too. They're having a lot of challenges. But nothing has ever happened with those bills. This is where we are in the landlord-tenant world, and I think we need to do better. I think we need to do more for all the reasons that were brought up in public comment, I should add. And affordability should be the baseline on that. But the other baseline should be transparency. And transparency is good governance and good business. So I recognize people have opinions about my amendments, the 2 that you didn't know and the 3 that you do know. But transparency is key. Again, good governance and good business. And so, Councilmember Foster and colleagues, I will be voting aye on this bill.
Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Councilmember Rink.
Thank you, Council President. I want to start by thanking the Mayor's office and their team for working over months alongside renters and advocates to shape this legislation. From sending out the renters survey to understand the landscape of junk fees to the town halls, directly engaging with renters. And I want to also thank Councilmember Foster for your leadership in guiding this legislation through the Housing, Arts, and Civil Rights Committee. Today's legislation is about transparency, fairness, and addressing the cost of living crisis that is rocking Seattle households. We talk about the cost of living crisis sometimes in an abstract way, but in reality, when a cost is too high, when people are nickel and dimed, that's less money at the end of the day to be able to navigate all the things that life throws at us. That means eviction, that means homelessness. So at the end of the day, the bill before us is about transparency. And when the price of rent for a unit is advertised as one thing, but after multiple junk fees are added on top of that, people find themselves locked into a default rent price they can't afford. And this bill incentivizes upfront honesty about how much that rent will actually be while still allowing for necessary fees like Wi-Fi, utilities, late fees, and more. I've talked about this often, but I'll say it again. I'm a renter. I've rented 7 different apartments in this city, and I'm sure I'll rent many more apartments in this city for the years to come. And that experience is not unique by a long shot. So I am excited today that we are taking a step for the renter majority of our city and for a more affordable city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rank. Are there any other comments regarding the bill before I kick it to the sponsor? Councilmember Foster.
Thank you so much, Council President. I actually want to just turn back to Councilmember Kettle and just say this to the public. The work that our office did on what was Amendment 3 and then was Amendment E today was made better by Councilmember Kettle's office. And I'll say there's things that we disagree on, and when we disagree, we disagree. And the things that we agree on, I have really appreciated your partnership and want to acknowledge that because Councilmember Kettle was not a member of that committee, we weren't able to add his name as a co-sponsor. But I do think it's really important to acknowledge your work and your leadership there. And it was in my notes earlier, and I forgot to, and I apologize for that. So thank you for that, Councilmember Kettle. And with that, I have to say, I am just so excited to get to vote on this legislation today. Our city is going to be better because of the work that this legislation represents. The transparency that this is going to bring to Seattle renters, the improved standard that this is going to mean for folks when they are shopping around for a place to live. One of the things that was really important to me during this process was actually hearing from some of our small housing providers who talked about how this is going to make it easier for them to compete on the market because of the transparency in this bill. So a renter is going to be able to look and understand where one unit has and what another unit has and make an informed decision. And that's good for that renter, and that's good for that provider who's already offering that transparency, and for that provider who doesn't already have junk fees attached. So I think the fairness that we're talking about in this bill extends to our residents who are renters, as well as our residents who are housing providers. From my vantage point, this is one of several pieces of legislation that this council has worked on that are going to make improvements to consumer protections across the board. So I was really proud a few weeks ago when we passed our homeowner do not solicit bill that's going to provide additional protections for our homeowners, and really proud to build on that with this bill that is going to provide additional protections and transparency to renters. So again, want to express my gratitude to Mayor Wilson and her team for their work on this, and colleagues, I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. Will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill as amended?
Councilmember Foster.
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez. Aye. Councilmember Kettle.
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn.
Yes.
Councilmember Rink.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera.
Present.
Councilmember Saka.
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss.
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth.
Yes.
8 in favor, none opposed, 1 disqualified.
The bill passes as amended, and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Congratulations, Councilmember Foster. All right. Now will the clerk please, that was only item number 1. Will the clerk please, just want to say, so now, will the clerk please read item number 2 into the record?
The report of the Finance, Native Communities, and Tribal Governments Committee, Agenda Item 2, Council Bill 121-252, relating to acceptance of funding from non-city sources, authorizing the mayor or the mayor designee to accept and authorize the expenditures of specified grants, private funding, and subsidized loans, and execute, deliver, and perform corresponding agreements. The committee recommends the bill pass.
Councilmember Strauss, as our fierce budget chair, you are recognized.
Thank you. I'm going to address both this bill and the next bill so you don't have to hear from me again. This is the mid-year supplemental bill and the grant acceptance bill. I'm glad that everyone's staying for this really important legislation. Jeff, you're not leaving yet. Thank you, sir, because right now we are actually funding universal school meals. We're funding the money that Councilmember Rink has allocated to address the transgender migration here to Seattle. We're doing a lot of really important work in this mid-year supplemental, and there's going to be a really difficult budget ahead. So please do not think that we are in a paradise yet. We did have a good revenue forecast that came out last week. We had better than expected, but it wasn't good. I'll put it that way. So we're not going backwards, but we're not moving forwards as quickly as we want. I do want to really thank both Councilmember Lynn and Councilmember Kettle for the amendments that they're bringing forward in this bill today. Councilmember Lynn will be speaking about his amendment in just a second. I'm going to speak to it right now so that I don't have to talk again. I really think that it is important that we are supporting you in the work around the CID, around North Beacon Hill, around Rainier Valley. I also, what you may not be seeing right now is that there is another outreach worker being hired for the CID specifically, and that came out of our budget actions from last year. And so just again, I want to thank the community members from the Rainier Valley that put together the packet. I think the Trash Pickers was their group. Like, I use that packet as an example to others throughout the city of how you need to demonstrate the need in your neighborhood. I also want to be really clear that outreach workers without shelter or housing to get people into cannot actually do their job. Outreach workers are also not going, the comment about the swinging pipe or the police interaction, outreach workers don't solve for that. And it's also important that we support you today to have 3 dedicated outreach workers right in that area. There's an incredible need. There's amazing community engagement, and so thank you, Councilmember Lynn, for all of the adjustments that you've made. Those are all of my comments. I'm not going to have last comments. I just am really excited to vote on all of the bills that are still on the agenda.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. So right now we have comments about the acceptance funding. All right, that's what we're voting on, and then we're going to jump into the mid-supplemental budget. Councilmember Strauss already talked about that, so we'll jump right into the amendments. Okay, will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill? And this is the acceptance of funding from non-city sources. Council Bill 121-252.
Councilmember Foster?
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez? Aye. Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn?
Yes.
Councilmember Rink?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera?
Aye.
Councilmember Saka?
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss?
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth?
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Awesome. Bill passes. Chair will sign it. Will the clerk please affix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? Will the clerk please read item number 3 into the record?
Agenda Item 3, Council Bill 121-253, an ordinance amending Ordinance 127-362, which adopted the 2026 budget, including 2026 through 2031 capital improvement program, changing appropriations to various departments and budget control levels from various funds in the budget. The committee recommends the bill pass as amended.
Councilmember Strauss, you already addressed it. Did you have any comments regarding it? Awesome. We'll jump right into amendments. Councilmember Lynn, you are recognized to move your amendment.
I'd like to move Amendment A, Version 1 to Council Bill 121253.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the bill as presented on Amendment A. Councilmember Lynn, you are recognized.
Thank you so much, colleagues. This amendment would add $500,000 of general fund to the Human Services Department for investments in highly impacted areas, including North Beacon Hill, North Rainier neighborhoods. It would fund 2 dedicated neighborhood outreach positions. You know, when I came into office in November, so at the end of last year's budget, it really started to get to crisis level in North Beacon Hill and North Rainier. And, you know, appreciate that this typically would be something that we would discuss at full budget. And I know that the full budget is going to be a hard discussion. But the need for bringing it now in the supplemental budget is just because these communities can't wait any longer. And we've worked very closely with HSD, with the executive department, with the likely recipient of these funds who is ready to hire promptly and get support to these communities. I also, again, know that we are facing difficult budget choices, and that all of our districts have needs. And so I do not have. I understand that others will be bringing forward their district priorities as part of the full budget. Our list is pretty short, and this was a top priority for us, again, given the urgent needs, this and youth gun violence down in Rainier Beach. So I just want to make that clear that I recognize that we are essentially preloading one of my district's top priorities, and so I just want to recognize that. Would be happy to answer any questions or concerns if folks have any. Otherwise, I would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Lynn. Are there any comments regarding Councilmember Rivera, then Councilmember Foster?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilmember Lynn, for your words, and I understand the needs. I will say that at committee, I'm going to say the same thing now that I said at committee, which is the purpose of the annual mid-year supplemental budget is to make necessary adjustments to the current year's budget due to grant acceptances or costs that per the city's RCW, quote, cannot reasonably have been foreseen. Any amendments adding money then at this point is really just cutting the line at the budget process that's going to start here in a month. And we've all already have been approached by various organizations and constituents asking for us to make sure we don't cut their particular item that they are focused on in the fall, in the budget that we're going to get in a month. And so I feel like at this point, it really is putting the cart before the horse and not related to the merits of any of these ads that were done both at committee level and now. I'm not going to be supporting these amendments because I feel like these are things that should be addressed in a month when we have the budget and we can figure out what things the mayor's going to have to make some cuts. So how are we going to be able to fund these things ongoing? And the last thing I'll say is that any money that is not spent that is considered quote unquote underspend by the end of the year is money that then is used to cover that budget deficit, which at this point in time, even given Friday's presentation, on the forecast is still expected to be about $275 million over the biennium. So for those reasons, I won't be supporting these particular ads at this point, but I do appreciate where you're coming from, Councilmember Lynn, and I look forward to the fall's budget discussion to see how we're going to support your community and the communities across the city with these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rivera. Councilmember Foster.
Thank you, Council President. I will be brief. I just wanted to express my gratitude to Councilmember Lynn for his leadership on this work. And yeah, Councilmember Lynn, you already mentioned earlier this year we had many folks come in from the North Rainier neighborhood and talk about the needs in their community, particularly around Mount Baker. And it was a real privilege to get to join you and one community meeting in Mount Baker and one community meeting in Rainier Beach. And I just think your leadership has been fantastic, and I really want to express my appreciation to you for bringing this forward, and I look forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. Councilmember Kettle.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank Councilmember Lynn for this amendment. In my role as Chair of Public Safety, I deal with these public safety challenges and the very ugly challenges that we have in our city day in and day out. Day in and day out. And so often in so many places around the city, they're very acute. I've done 2 public safety walks with Councilmember Lynn in North Beacon Hill, and it's a tragedy in terms of what the community there has to face. As I said related to Little Saigon and North Aurora in committee, it's not right and it's not acceptable. So I respect the point made regarding budget, but the issue is it's acute and it's acute now. So Councilmember Lynn, I do support your amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Are there any other comments regarding Amendment A? Councilmember Lynn, any closing remarks before we call a vote?
I just want to, and I should have said this in the opening remarks, just want to, regardless of your support for this amendment or not, to Councilmember Kettle, just want to say thank you so much for all the attention you've been providing to District 2, in particular, doing those safety walks. And it means a lot. It means a lot to the community to have you showing up there. So I just want to put that on the record. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Lynn. All right. Well, Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, CP. I just want to say again, you know, this is my position is not on the merits of these things, and I don't, the characterization that somehow we need public safety now, and so without passage of this now, I dispute the characterization respectfully, Councilmember Kettle. We're all dealing with public safety issues across the city. There's a lot going on in D5, for instance, and other areas of the city. So I'm well aware of all the issues, and I myself am dealing with some issues in the D4. So again, it's not on the merits of the case of the ad, but we're having a budget in a month here, and we're going to have to. All the things we're doing now, and even the things we added in this today's meeting, we're going to have to grapple with all that in the fall, and that is why I'm going to be voting no on the amendment. But I did vote to pass the mid-year in general, but I just want us to remind us all that mid-year isn't traditionally used to add new things, but to take care of the budget that is today, and then we use the budget process to do the next year's budget. Thank you, Council President.
Oh, thank you, Councilmember Rivera. Okay, will the clerk please call the roll on Amendment A?
Councilmember Foster?
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez? Yes. Councilmember Kettle? Aye. Councilmember Lynn?
Yes.
Councilmember Rink?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera?
No.
Councilmember Saka?
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss?
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth?
Yes.
8 in favor, 1 opposed.
Motion carries. Amendment A is adopted. Councilmember Kettle, I'm going to you for Amendment B.
Thank you, Council President. First, I would like to request that the rules be suspended to consider version 2 of Amendment B.
Second.
Awesome. It's been moved in second, and then I actually have to see if there's an objection, right? So if there's no objection, the rules will be suspended. Thank you for that second, Councilmember Strauss, to allow consideration of Amendment B, version 2. Is there any objection? Okay, hearing no objection, the rules are suspended, and Councilmember Kettle is recognized to move his amendment.
Thank you, Council President. I move to amend Council Bill 121253 as presented on Amendment B, version 2.
It's been moved and seconded to amend bill as presented on Amendment B, version 2. Councilmember Kettle, you're recognized in order to address it.
Thank you, Council President. We've already heard about North Beacon Hill and Little Saigon, but the CID more broadly has been impacted and has been benefiting from the work that we've done with our technology program and also the broader strategic framework plan that we have. And this also includes other areas, to include downtown and Belltown and North Aurora. And the need is greater than we have in the program, and it's driven by demonstrated crime data. This is underwritten by demonstrated crime data. And so today we're facing many public safety challenges, and we need action to create a safer Seattle. You know, for those that started in January 24, we're well into our 3rd year, and the only plan as it relates to public safety that one could argue is our own strategic framework plan for a safer Seattle. The council needs to continue to lead on our current program whole and for our proviso. We need to lead and then engage with the executive, but we have to have this program whole in of itself and also as it relates to our proviso. It's important to keep our proviso whole. And so for those reasons, colleagues, I ask for your support for this amendment, Amendment B.
Are there any, thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Are there any comments regarding Amendment B version 2? Councilmember Rink, followed by Councilmember Rivera, and then Councilmember Foster.
Thank you, Council President. I will be brief and just note while I appreciate the revised amendment before us, particularly with the language pertaining to limitations for CCTV installation, operation, and expansion within the Capitol Hill neighborhood, I will be voting no on this amendment today, primarily because I believe that is consistent with prior positions I have taken against funding CCTV technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rink. Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Council President, and I appreciate you trying to add this back in, Councilmember Kettle. We did take some funds to be able to help support our colleague, Council President, up on Capitol Hill. I think that this amendment, just again, it adds more into the mid-year, and I think we need to be taking this up during the budget process. I do support CCTV, and so I expect that we're going to be able to continue that program with the upcoming budget, but I'm going to be voting no on today's amendment for those reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rivera. Councilmember Foster.
Thank you so much, Council President. I will be voting no on this amendment. I believe that the use of these dollars for the purposes as they were allocated in the committee to ensure that we have timely responsiveness and folks on the ground in the neighborhood is a strong use of the funds, and I look forward to seeing the impact of that amendment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. So are there any more comments before I speak? No. Okay. So just two things, and I want to thank. There's more people. Okay, Councilmember Lynn.
I'm so sorry,
You're good.
Council President. Councilmember Kettle, appreciate your amendment. I don't think I can be supporting today, although I will. The CCTV program, I'm very excited to see the audit reports that will be coming hopefully soon, because I think that will help our community. We have a very divided discussion about sort of the benefits, the costs, the potential risks of our CCTV program, and I'm hoping that those reports will help us kind of make decisions based on sort of what we can learn from the data on those reports. I do, my community, District 2, is pretty divided on this issue. We have a lot of folks who were calling for cameras after the shootings of the 2 Rainier Beach High School students. There are certainly folks who would like to see more. We have cameras in the CID. There are some folks who would like to see more, and then certainly have heard from the other side as well. And so while I'm not going to support this today, I do understand your very strong advocacy for the CCTV program. And again, I'm looking forward to having that discussion when we have those reports to delve into. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lynn. Colleagues, last week I brought an amendment that basically withdrew $250,000 from the proviso that I did vote on the previous year for our CCTV cameras. I voted on CCTV cameras. People remind me every day. I understand. But I did have an amendment to withdraw the $250,000 that would go to boots on the ground right now in Capitol Hill, First Hill, and our central district along the Jackson corridor. That will get started fairly quickly here, and I can say on the record in 30 days or less to have people that are going to be ambassadors on the Hill, which I'm really, really excited about, and that program will continue. Because we do have some funding from King County with the Crisis Care Clinic implementation plan that our office did also request more additional funding from them. So that program will get started. Ambassadors, I also want to thank Councilmember Strauss, because the ambassadors has always been in the program, especially for the first year. And so this is kind of just a continuation of that and acceleration. I also want to thank Councilmember Kettle as well. You know, you worked with me on the amendment because really the issue with this for me was the cameras on Capitol Hill, what I heard from community, what is needed right now, boots on the ground. So I will be supporting this amendment today. Looking forward to the report that's coming sometime in September, October. I have no clue. But this is a provision that does not allow that expansion in Capitol Hill because we will have boots on the ground, and that's what's put in this amendment. So just wanted to be clear on that, colleagues, regarding this amendment. Are there any further comments? Councilmember Kettle? No, I hear no. Councilmember Kettle?
Final?
Are there final? Yeah.
My final?
I hear Councilmember Rivera.
Well, just to clarify that the amendment that you proffered, I understand was going to be just for this year, so we could take up some work this year that we're not going to be able to take up because they're not going to be able to get the staff hired to be able to look at the to do the CCTV program this year.
Yeah.
And so the idea was that we would get, or you want to get boots on the ground this year. So that's why I supported that amendment, but I also support the ongoing CCTV piece. So again, want to thank you, Councilmember Kettle, for keeping your eye on the prize on that. Support that, and want to make sure we can do something now to support Capitol Hill. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Councilmember Rivera. Are there any other comments? Councilmember Kettle, any closing remarks before we take the vote?
Thank you, Council President. I would just note that this program and our proviso are not new. They are part of the current year budget that we all voted on last fall.
Wow.
And I should note, too, I'll be meeting with NYU on Friday. I have confidence in the review, and I'm confident it should be done in September. And if the mayor keeps to her word, I think we can move forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Colleagues, I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Will the clerk please call the roll on Amendment B, version 2?
Councilmember Foster?
No.
Councilmember Juarez? Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn?
No.
Councilmember Rink?
No.
Councilmember Rivera?
No.
Councilmember Saka?
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss? Council President Hogsworth?
Yes.
5 in favor, 4 opposed.
Motion carries. Amendment B, version 2 is adopted. Are there any other further comments as the bill as amended? Council Bill 121253. Councilmember Rink.
Thank you, Council President. To begin, I want to speak directly to some of the public comment that we heard today, from the powerful testimony from our trans neighbors to also the transphobia that was also heard in these chambers. And I want to state to our queer and trans community directly, you belong in Seattle. I am glad you are here. You deserve dignity and respect. And we are going to do the work to live up to our promise of being a welcoming city. Thank you, Chair Strauss, and for the committee sponsorship of the amendment. And thank you to the Finance, Tribal Governments, and Native Communities Committee that unanimously voted to approve my amendment for $300,000 in one-time funding for the Human Services Department to grant out that funding to trusted community-based organizations supporting queer and transgender people with essential services, including shelter and housing and food support. As stated in committee last week, during last year's supplemental budget process, I supported a one-time allocation of $300,000 to the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs to support urgent and emerging issues facing our immigrant and refugee community. And this amendment approved last week was written in that same spirit and responds to the ongoing crisis and displacement of queer, transgender, and gender nonconforming people seeking refuge from hostile jurisdictions across the country. To just affirm, internal displacement of trans Americans is real. It is being fueled by elected officials who champion anti-trans policies in state legislatures. And so far in 2026, there are now 830 bills under consideration across the country that would negatively impact trans and gender nonconforming people, and 62 pieces of legislation have passed this year alone. Now, as you may recall, Council was briefed on this matter most recently during the June Select Committee on Federal Administration and Policy Changes, where we heard directly from community about urgent needs for housing, employment, food, and healthcare support. But this has been a continuation of a discussion that began last year when we had Lavender Rights Project, Queer Power Alliance, and Pro-Choice Washington at the table discussing access to gender-affirming care. So I am very clear that while this one-time funding is not enough to address the full need, it is a start, and it signals our commitment that the City of Seattle will work towards living up to that promise of being a welcoming city. So thank you so much again to the committee for your support, and I urge you to vote today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Ring. We have Councilmember Kettle, followed by Councilmember Lynn and Councilmember Foster.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to speak on basically the same topic I spoke during committee. I was not here. I was remoting in. I was out of town. But I do think it's important. I do come from a red county of a blue state. I am a retired military naval officer. And what is happening at the federal level with respect to President Trump's actions, if you look at what's happening in DOD with Secretary Hegseth, it's appalling. And I think it's important for somebody like me, looks like me, my background, where I'm from, and so forth, to speak just like I did over a Zoom call, but also do it in person. And so last week I noted, because Jessa Davis, who is part of the commission, LGBTQ plus commission, she wrote an op-ed in The Stranger. They call it a guest rant, but it's an op-ed. And she made the very clear point that she didn't come here for some political ideology. She came here for survival. And by the way, everybody that's here, when you say that, I recognize that truth in the comments here in public comment. And so I think it's important to say that in person here in council, not just coming in over Zoom during a committee meeting. And so, Council President, I just wanted to have the opportunity to do so. And, hopefully Seattle can be that welcoming place and, finding peace and solace here. And yes, fingers crossed. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. Councilmember Lynn, followed by Councilmember Foster.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilmember Kettle. I do think it's really important to hear that, especially given your background, your years of service in the military, and I really appreciate that. And just want to say thank you to Councilmember Rink for all of your work in this. And also just want to speak to, I think, just want to speak to the contributions of, it is a difficult thing when people are fleeing oppression and violence. And so obviously we need to do what we can to support and to be a welcoming city. But I also just want to recognize the incredible contributions of folks that have already made to our community, but will continue to make to our community, and will make our community even stronger in the long run. So I just want to speak to that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Lynn. Councilmember Foster.
Thank you, Council President. Trans people belong here, period. That's it.
Oh, yeah, that was great. Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, Councilmember Foster. I'm excited to vote on this. Thank you, Councilmember. We're voting on the overall bill. I know we're highlighting the $300,000 for our trans community, and just really happy to support that as well. I know it's a small drop in the bucket, but I think it's a great start, and we'll continue to build on that as a council as well. And I just want to, for the record, unanimously, and I said this in the Finance Committee, this council supported funding for Lavender Rights Project last year, and that was in the consent package. That was from Councilmember Strauss, so thank you for that as well. So just want to, that we can continue to build on these investments as well. So thank you. Okay. Councilmember Strauss, nothing? All right, so there's no more comments about item number 3, because we have an item number 4 to vote on. And there's a lot of great things in this bill: universal lunches, the voucher program, there's the boots on the ground on Capitol Hill, Councilmember Kettle, that I know you're excited about, my friend. All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Foster.
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez.
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle.
Aye.
Councilmember Lynn,
Yes.
Councilmember Rink,
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera,
Aye.
Councilmember Saka,
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss,
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Bill passes. Chair will sign it. And will the clerk please affix my signature on the legislation on my behalf? Biggest clap for the mid-supplemental budget, Councilmember Strauss. All right.
Can we finish this meeting? It's 5:45.
Item
I
number 4 in
appreciate
the
everyone
record.
being
Will the
here. Can we
clerk
finish up, please?
Will the clerk please read item number 4 into the record?
The report of the Transportation,
as fast as
Waterfront,
we
and
can.
Sales
I
Center
got
Committee,
you.
Agenda Item 4, Clerk File 314550, request for modification of conditional approval of a petition of Swedish Health Services to vacate the alley in Block 95 Terry, Second Edition, to the City of Seattle. The committee recommends the clerk file be granted as conditioned.
Councilmember Saka, as chair of the committee, you're recognized to present the committee report.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Council President. I am taking the rest of this meeting remotely because I'm late to a meeting in West Seattle about traffic safety. So, but this one should be brief. It's fairly straightforward. This pertains to this specific clerk file is a request for modification of conditional approval of a petition of Swedish Health Services to vacate a specific alley on First Hill. Swedish has asked to delay construction of a building until a later date. The request was heard in our committee last week, and the committee was assured that Swedish will deliver the proposed public benefits, which will include street improvements, funding for improvements to the First Hill Park, and additional streetscape improvements at and near the site itself. I note that this passed committee unanimously, and about to hop on a bus, but I encourage your support. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Saka. Are there any comments regarding, are there any other comments? All right. Will the clerk please call the roll on the granting of the clerk file as conditioned?
Councilmember Foster,
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Kettle, Councilmember Lynn,
Yes.
Councilmember Rink,
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera,
Aye.
Councilmember Saka,
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss,
Aye.
Council President Hollingsworth.
Yes.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Clerk file is granted as conditioned. Chair will sign it. The conditions. Will the clerk please affix my signature on the city council conditions on my behalf? There were no removed items from the consent calendar. There's not a resolution for introduction or adoption today. Councilmember Juarez and Councilmember Strauss. We are 3 hours and 45 minutes into this meeting, and you have raised your hand, Councilmember Juarez.
Council President. I would like to be excused on September 8th, please.
Is if there's no objection, Councilmember Juarez will be excused from the September 8th council meeting. Hearing no objection, Councilmember Juarez, you are excused. Councilmember Strauss.
Thank you. We had a lot of people in the chambers earlier that did not agree with each other. That is what democracy looks like. This has been a long day where we've actually gotten to celebrate towards the end of this meeting. And I couldn't end the day without also acknowledging that last night there was a man killed at 85th and 24th. He was riding a scooter. He's 3 years younger than me. It's an intersection I ride on a scooter through all the time. Colleagues, you know that about 22 years ago, I almost died after being hit by a driver. Our streets have to be safe from people dying from serious injury. I know that Rainier Valley has way higher death rates and serious injury rates than District 6 does, but I just couldn't get through this day without acknowledging that we lost somebody last night unnecessarily because people were driving dangerously. So if we could just take a moment, and then I got one bit of happy news after that, but I want to take a minute. Thank you, colleagues. And also thank you to Jeff for staying for the rest of that meeting. But also in the positive news, yesterday we had orca whales enter into Salmon Bay towards the Ballard Locks. We have been waiting for them to come eat these sea lions that have been eating all the fish. And so I'm just very happy that we have finally gotten our orca whales back in Salmon Bay to protect our fish. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. All right, are there any other comments? Seeing none, thank you, colleagues, for a nice long meeting, and thank you for those comments. We've reached the end of today's agenda. The next City Council meeting will be August the 18th at 2 p.m. It is our last council meeting before the recess, which is on the 21st. So this is our last council meeting, and then we'll return back September 8th. All right, hearing no further business. Hi, Ivy. Auntie loves you. Will be no further business. We're adjourned.